welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Speaking of patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Austin Whitsitt, John Kays, DL Hill, Julian Jeremiah, Maxi Tyken, Michael Kahn, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Bose Nail, Samson, Maris, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Open Minded, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Maria Nealands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Several of my patrons have just upped their donations for seemingly no reason as well, so you know exactly who you are. Thank you very much indeed. I really appreciate the extra support. It definitely helps, so thank you very much again. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Google and Discord so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Maybe a couple of days.
Ooh.
So how's it coming in?
Beautiful.
All right.
No hissing.
Well,
Which part
went on the trip.
Which part are you talking into? Are you talking into the side or the top?
I'm looking at the screen. The mic is at its zenith position, so to speak, straight up. And it's about 2.5 feet from me, maybe.
Okay, it needs to be tilted away from you 45 degrees so that you're talking into the front of it. Talk to the word blue.
How about now?
It's a side address
Blue.
microphone, so you talk to the side of it. Where it says blue,
Yeah, how about now? Yeah.
and then you need to be within 6 inches of it, and depending on how loud you speak, turn the gain right down.
Check 1, 2. Let me move closer. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2.
Good. Lastly, on the back of it, you've got 4 different polar patterns. You want to set it to the one that looks like a bum, cardioid,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
heart.
that's what you had. Yeah, that's what you had me. It's still there.
All
That's
right.
it. Maybe get a little bit closer to it, and then it sounds great.
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. Got
Happy
it.
days. Good sound today. Ooh, what a treat.
Couple of days.
Hey. I'm excited.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm gonna post something in Master B, so we'll have a fun time before the show starts.
Hey, maybe somebody will have evidence today of something.
Is it political? Something about Biden. He's gone very quiet. Not saying no.
No, I just went to post it.
Oh, you haven't posted it yet? Oh, there we go. It's not about Biden. Fine.
No, I forget him.
Well, you posted it.
No, that's just headlines that I'm just letting people know how stupid the guy is. That's it.
All right.
I don't-
Just sharing the propaganda. Very kind.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
Alright,
so I've got... So what has time got to do with celestial navigation?
Yeah, interesting. This is part of the whole article. I can post the whole article as well. Okay, imagine the Earth is stationary. I mean, I keep seeing this and hearing this on YouTube videos, that in order to do celestial navigation, we have to flip their presupposition around. They say the Earth is turning all the time. Until you're an anti-flat earther, then they deny drift. But for celestial navigation, you know, they still think you're on a globe and the Earth is turning, and that's what causes the 15-degree drift. Not the sun moving, but the Earth turning. And yet, when you dig down deep, you find out, okay, in order for it to work and work for you easily, you got to imagine the Earth is stationary.
Are you kidding me?
Recording after recording, article after article. Why do we have to imagine the Earth is stationary if the Earth is turning? What's the difference of applying 15 degrees to the Earth turn, if their presupposition is right, or 15 degrees to the sun turning? But it's still 15 degrees. If the Earth is flat and stationary and the sun is moving, it's moving at 15 degrees an hour. If the Earth is not stationary and it's a ball, it's a sphere, it's rotating at 15 degrees an hour. If it's the same 15 degrees, same hour, why in the world do I have to imagine the Earth is stationary?
Well, don't leave it rhetorical. In this instance, what necessitates it to be assumed as stationary?
Well, this is what I'm trying to figure out, because they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. First, they tell you all along the Earth is spinning, and we have all these different seasons because of it. And then when it comes to astronavigation, they're saying for it to be easier. Well, I mean, I called the navigator. I consulted him, and I said, why do we have to assume the Earth is stationary? And he said, because it's easier. That's the only answer I got. What's easier? I'm still trying to figure out what's easier.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, and you've just answered, so, okay, I won't press you any more than I already have. But by the same token, if it's a rotating spherical body, and that's the assumption in terms of your 15 degrees an hour, then when you start working on areas of equal altitude, suddenly it makes no sense to actually have the assumption of a spherical body rotating beneath you, because then it's a spherical body, and your area of equal altitude suddenly makes no sense. So to just assume that it's stationary and you've got the object moving over a flat plane at 15 degrees an hour lines up nicely with your area of equal altitude when you're doing your 3 circles for triangulation. So, but for the fact that a rotating body would necessitate a curved surface, I can't see any reason not to, and neither can you, right?
Yeah, I mean, they die on that one for sure with the circle of equal altitude, but again, they are just parroting what they're told in their courses when they go for their captain's license or their yacht master license, whatever they're going after. I mean, if you've got to be a captain of a 100-ton ship or more, you've got to answer these test questions. And, they've got to know how to navigate at sea with the sextant, because if GPS and electronics go down, they've got to be able to do it. So they're just parroting, I think, but they're not thinking it through like we just did. They're not even questioning it.
Easier, because that's what the book says to do.
Precisely.
But that's it, isn't it? If something's capable of being done, you don't question necessarily the methodology behind it. If you know how to perform it and it works, you just do it.
Yeah, well, people say seasons prove a spherical Earth. The way everything works, it's got to be spherical.
Yeah, until you want to negotiate a path from A to B and you don't know where you are.
Then
Yeah, I
it's
have
easier to
something.
take it stationary, right? That's what they say.
I have something I want to share on the live show once we get through housekeeping.
Sure,
on the
but
circle of equal altitude.
Just for Neil's benefit, if you're going to use the sun only, it's in the daytime, and you're going to take timings for where it moves its position over the ground that you're plotting, then that is exactly how you need to do it. Where's the position of the sun now above the ground that I'm plotting, and where is it, I don't know how long later, however long later? Well, if you've got the sun being stationary and the ground beneath it moving, then that's more complicated in terms of doing triangulation, especially if you haven't had it explained to you that you need to do it that way, i.e. assume the ground's rotating and the sun is stationary. Suddenly that makes it that much more complicated. Just where is it now in relation to the ground? Where's its GP? Okay, let's plot it. Right, let's wait. Where is it now? Let's just plot it above the ground it is now. That's assuming that it's moving over the ground, right? To plot where it is over the ground, right? Well, transpose that onto a rotating ground beneath it, and suddenly it's a lot more complicated for the guy who hasn't been taught to do it that way, and he's doing it with a flat plane. Suddenly, why am I doing it in that way? Well, because it's actually us spinning. Well, that's just semantics at that point, isn't it? Doesn't matter, I'm getting the GP of that particular thing in the sky, burning ball that they think is the sun.
Yeah. That doesn't make any sense at all.
They're getting its position above the ground. So to plot its position above the ground, it's easier to consider it moving above the ground, when that's what you're watching it do, than assume the ground's moving beneath it, when that is not what you're observing or plotting.
They're missing the cipher, as I like to say it. That one little clue that we have, that they don't have. We question it because of it. They don't question it because they're not even thinking about it when they go through the methodology. It's just slipped in. Like this article just said, okay, we're going to assume the Earth is not turning. The sun is moving. It just glances off of them. Instead of saying, wait a minute, the whole thing is the Earth is turning. How can you say that? See, we catch it.
Yeah, but that goes back to what we were taught in the school system, and it's like wakes us up. But it's like, to me, it's like if you find out that all your math is wrong, that 2 + 2 is not 4. That's what drives me crazy.
Not only the stories, just the religion bit. You just weren't told it was religious education when they were telling it you.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It is a religion. It's a freaking religion called heliocentrism.
Right, which is how I teach it. It amuses me most when equal discussions given to the, I don't know, how do you describe them? The religions of the sky. It's the only way, as we're describing it that way. I'm going to stick to that. Well, when I talk about Thor, you know, my kid will jump around and pretend she's got a hammer. When I talk about us falling around the sun, she laughs. Thinks it's silly. But I'm like, no. You know, the kids that are in the schools are taught that we're falling around the sun. And she doesn't, you know, she goes, oh, okay. You know, it's just like Santa to her.
See, but that's good, because that's not the way we were taught. Maybe they should teach it that way, because it is laughable.
Well, I'm just saying how it is, right? I don't tell her that it's wrong. I don't say we're not falling around the sun. I say in that religion we're falling around the sun. Because that's what's claimed. So, like, you know, at the end of those descriptions, you know, if she comes out at the end saying, I think it's actually closest to Simba's description and they're bloody lions, I'll be like, okay, if that's what you want to believe. You know, up to you, isn't it?
Or she could turn around and say, Dad, you said we're falling around the sun. It's called an orbit.
Yeah. She could get the official terminology for the idea that we're falling around the sun and put me in my place, right? More power to her. Both of them, when the other one's speaking a bit more fluently. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, we are joined by Neil, 10th Man, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very well.
Thank you for asking.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Arwin. And how's everybody in Discord, given that we haven't had a single peep from any of them so far?
Doing well, Nathan. Thank you.
Oh, brilliant. This won't make Globe Earth dictate. Thank God. Excellent. So, any evidence of... Go on. Who's trying to get a word in? 10th. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say maybe they're mesmerizing. Maybe we're mesmerizing to them, and they just don't feel the need to speak because we hold their attention.
I think they've retreated. I think they've retreated and making new plans since they got beat up every time they come in for battle over the topic of the day.
Well, I said it yesterday that they've stuck their heads in the sand for the last minimum 18 months since the Black Swan came out and just ignored it. And it's like, okay, you need to spin everything in relation to a lack of R or avoid any sort of recognition of it whatsoever and then just carry on regardless, right? Keep asserting drop values and how many feet and inches or meters are missing, all of which requires R. And, you know, ploughing on regardless isn't going to change the fact that we ask for it daily. And there's good reason why we ask for it daily. We've debunked it. But as I say, they're sticking their heads in the sand and they have to work as very efficient spin doctors when it comes to addressing the elephant in the room, and that is the R value. Shout out to Uniftox Femu, who's also in our Discord server right now, under Sasha, who says, look, picture from Ramsgate in voice chat. Okay. I don't know what that means. I don't go into voice chat, but I'm sure somebody from the G Plus panel will hopefully hustle that up. We shall see. If not, maybe not, but thank you for the super chat.
So, Nathan, is it unreasonable for us to ask for curvature if we live on a sphere? Any proof of it?
No, not in the slightest. It's claimed to be their number one prophecy of an Earth that's spherical. Here's a picture, mocked up by me. Earth by space, with a curve. That's your horizon. It's not actually me that made this. I forget to credit who actually made this on my behalf, but there we go. You can get the general gist of what I'm saying. There's a horizon. It's supposed to be Earth curve. That's the claim, right? Unreasonable to ask for it. You're kidding. No, we've just debunked that the horizon's a physical geometric limitation to your view, formerly known as Earth curve. That's not your horizon.
Well, they're the ones who are the proponents for Earth curve, and the horizon was Earth curve. At least it used to be, because it was claimed that it blocked the bottoms of boats and buildings. And then when we put the geometric numbers on it to say, all right, based on your radius of 3959, it could be no further than this at a certain observation height, and that doesn't pan out, maybe that's why they haven't shown up for a while. They have no response for it, other than to accept the fact that we don't live on a sphere with a curvature.
Depends who they are. If you're talking about a they that has come through, realised they don't have an R value, and now sit with their head in the sand, well, then they won't come here because they know exactly what they'll be asked for. Now, there are a certain level of humility-free people that will still toddle along every so often. We had one yesterday. And they're basically here to say, we don't answer loaded questions which are exactly the same as the question I've asked you. Which is pathetic, really. But that's the kind of dick that we do deal with now. But beyond that, the people who've come, they've come in force and lost. And now we spend our days going, you got an R value? You haven't? Oh, right. I don't know, let's spend, I don't know, a solid week arguing about how fair a debate platform is from some nobody who's on the Globe side. Whole week. Like, all I did was ask for R. I asked for it daily. And out of maybe 150 comments now, one person mentioned the repetitions that we have to go through, 80 to 100. Tommy and myself combined. I didn't add Flatsoid on because he came in after the fact. But there we go, a third party to the two that already existed. So fourth party, if you will. And one, since the last time I mentioned this, person has come through and said, okay, yeah, cats can't get R. But he rephrased it into, neither of you are happy to deal with R. And he said, well, if you have an argument that requires R, are you okay to be cross-examined on R, given that you're saying you don't want it used? Like, I can... What do you mean I'm prohibited from using R? I ask for it daily, right? Your opponents, they run from R. That's why they're not here. Because they don't last very long without it. So they're not here. It's just that simple. Well, you know, rustling around, I don't know, neutrality and fairness, and it's all bollocks. R, that's the elephant in the room. Right? And if you haven't got it, you'll run from any debates. That's the reality. Because what have you got if you've already been through this part of the woods? Well, you know damn well you haven't got an R value, right? Because we ask you for it. And you haven't got it. We've debunked it. So, what are we going to get? Somebody come through with a shitty old argument that they've already put forward and has already been requested and the R value that they'll be utilising? No, there is no new arguments. So they've got nothing to come through with. So then who are you left with? That's anti-flat earthers. You're then left with globe believers. Well, if you've got a modicum of intelligence, you'll watch the show first. And you'll hear this, stuff like the stuff I'm saying now. And you'll go, what's he talking about? R? Like Pat Brittenden. I don't really understand this R, but Nathan says you haven't got an R value. It's first thing off his lips. Everyone wants to say I'm running away when I've got direct quotes of me getting really angry with him, telling him I'm not. It's just the elephant in the room isn't getting addressed. So, it would have been much easier to just go, what an idiot. Of course we've got R. Here it is. But nobody did that. One person out of maybe 150 said, okay, so you both can't use R. So what if you used it? It's like, I don't need it, but I ask for it daily. You need it and haven't got it. That's the actual situation here. So let's create a load of smoke and mirrors and hyperbole and claim that Nathan ran away. No, on the contrary. I tested the debating moderator to see if I got to my winning point. That's that you haven't got an R value. What would happen? Well, he told me in no uncertain terms that would be an unreasonable concession to seek. Yeah, he doesn't really know what it is, and it's the first thing off his lips because it was the first thing I asked for. Yeah? Ah. So, lads, you want to know why there's nobody here? Well, that's because they haven't got an R value. It's as simple as that.
So you think he still doesn't know what the R value means, this Pat Brittington, or do you think he's done his homework? I think he's full of crap.
In the words of Sleeping Warrior, move on, the guy's a nobody. It's just useful to illustrate. Yeah? As much as the spin and hyperbole and lies can come from our opponents about me running away, on the contrary, doesn't seem to matter how much I say, no, I do want to debate. I just need my point not to be ignored 80 to 100 times. My point is R. So, any evidence of the R value? Earth radius.
Ex-Pat Brittington. Maybe he's find out.
He doesn't understand this stuff. Fair enough, I'm not going to haul him over the coals for not understanding what it is. But to assume that you can debate a reasonable show and tell somebody who's made the claim that their opponent hasn't got R, rather than going, I wonder if he'll just give it me, he says, I don't understand it, but to ask for it's unreasonable. That's what he basically said. I don't understand what this means, but it's unreasonable to ask for it. Really, so if we're in a debate live in front of an audience and I asked him for R, you tell me it was unreasonable, I have an email. Yeah, of course you would. It does make me laugh. It's also very embarrassing how Cats and Ranty have both lied about the actual circumstances, and then a few brave souls have come along and said, yeah, Nathan's just trying to get so angry that you tell him not to come. It's like, how many ways can you spin this? I ask for her and you all run for the hills and want to claim I've run away. That's what's happened, dear lads. Yeah?
Well, there can only be...
It's projection. That's what it is.
There can only be two options here. One, they don't know the question you're asking, and the other is they do know the question you're asking, and they don't have it to produce it for you. So when you ask someone, what evidence do you have for the R value, and they are heliocentric, and they believe they live on a sphere with a radius of 3959, all you're asking for is, where is that place on Earth that we can observe obstruction due to curvature? Based on the math and the black swan, it has limitations at observation heights, depending if you're 1 foot high or 5 feet high. How could they not know this? I think they're running for the hills.
They are running for the hills because in the hills they can still shout out that you've got obstruction and drop and ask their opponents how there's 20 feet missing or 20 metres missing. It's like every one of your requests needs R because you're only asking why 20 feet's missing because it's missing by virtue of your claim of drop in an calculator that's got R. Hello? So yeah, I'm going to need the basis of every single claim. If you're going to claim the U, because the U value gives you time dilation in Narnia, and every single argument you start with is based on that U value that derivatively gives you time dilation in Narnia, I'm just going to say every single argument this person comes up with uses the U value to claim proof of validity when talking about Narnia. Well, Narnia doesn't exist. Where's the U value? And they go, that's unreasonable. You're asking him to concede that Narnia is not real immediately? Yeah, that's my winning argument because he always uses the U value to claim it is real, and you haven't got one. In fact, we've had to go to great extents to debunk it because when we proved you just assumed it, you just told us the EAU just assumed Narnia is real anyway. So then we had to go even further and prove that Narnia wasn't real by assuming it was real and showing how it wasn't by debunking the U value. So it's not unreasonable to request that they don't use that, given that nobody's acknowledged it for 18 months. They stick their heads in their sand. I have an open door where they can challenge me that they have got it. I've asked you to get it for me. And apparently the net result of all of that is I'm told it's unreasonable to ask for it. Do you not know how much you've lost, Globe Believers? Very, very badly.
You sound like an evil genius.
Well, next 3 questions. Let's see if you need R for any of them if you're a heliocentrist. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core?
Yes, you're going to need R.
Are we going to need R for that claim that we've got a molten iron core? What a shock. What about the distance to the sun?
Yes, you're going to need R for that too.
Oh, so ultimately everything claimed in the heliocentric model so far requires R. Why gravity? Scientific evidence thereof?
Yeah, you need R for that too.
Are we going to need R for that? So not really that unreasonable to ask for R, given that I ask for it daily. It's just when I ask my opponents, especially people like Cats, what they'll do is they'll crop out me asking in their comments, put it at the beginning of their video and never address it. So, you're gonna need R for that.
Morning.
Hello.
Your mod asked me to put myself on mute. I was gonna hop on here and have a quick debate with you. That's fine.
Awesome. What position do you hold?
I'm a globe earther.
You got an R value?
I'll do it without R.
Oh, wow. Go ahead.
I'm gonna start off with a question for you, if that's all right.
You have a claim as opposed to a question, given I've not actually made any claims yet?
Okay. Starting off with my claim. The Earth is a globe, having traveled across the world myself, having seen different constellations, and having seen the moon from a different perspective. How do you explain that?
Sorry, you're going to need R for that. You've just begged the question immediately that Earth's a sphere. That needs an R. Just said that.
No, I'm not using R at all.
Sorry, do you not know what a globe is? Sorry, do you not know what a globe is?
I'm asking.
It's
I'm asking the
interesting
question.
to hear that you are yawing. That's so interesting.
Sorry, a globe would require an R value.
Sorry, I missed what the other gentleman said.
I don't know, but the globe requires an R value.
Well, I'm asking my position.
Okay, stop. Whoever's interrupting, Sasha.
Sorry.
Right, this is we've just started discussing stuff with the show and you're immediately causing chaos. Please, can you stop? Thank you.
Oh.
Okay, thank you. So, based on your declaration that requires R that the Earth is a sphere, do you mind not talking through me, please?
And my observations.
Do you mind not talking through
And
me?
my observations.
So, based on your
Go ahead.
Sorry, are you going to talk through every single statement I make in response?
Fire away, sir.
Okay, based on your declaration that Earth is a sphere with a radius value, you're now asking me a question about a claim you've made. That is known as a burden of proof reversal fallacy. You've made a claim that your observations take place on a globe. That needs an R value. Now you're going to ask me how that takes place. I haven't made a claim about it. That's a burden of proof reversal fallacy. Do you understand what a burden of proof reversal fallacy is?
I fully understand.
Before you start chanting through me, I'm asking you a question based on your logical fallacy of a burden of proof. Do you understand what you have done, naughty boy?
I'm answering your question, and I'm saying yes, I understand.
That it's a burden of proof reversal fallacy to ask me something about your claim Earth is a sphere based on your observation, which requires an R value.
All right, so...
Not all right. I need an acknowledgement that you've used fallacious logic, so we can move on.
Let's move on, then.
No, not until you say I understand. I reversed the burden of proof after claiming something that required R. So we can move on. Understanding that you've already used one fallacy, that would be a burden of proof.
This is interesting.
What? You using a burden of proof reversal fallacy based on your experience of a globe which requires R that you cannot admit to after challenging me to answer something which is based on your claim. I have not made a claim. You are burden of proof reversal fallacy using idiot. How simple can it be?
So here is my claim.
I heard your claim. Earth globe requires R. Then you asked me to answer something about your claim. That's a burden of proof reversal fallacy. How many times? 3.
Can you Okay.
Just acknowledge that you've used a fallacy.
Okay.
Not
So
okay.
let's continue forward.
Not okay. That's why I want you to acknowledge it, so I can tell you how not okay it is.
I'm acknowledging your point, good sir. I'm acknowledging your point.
That it's a burden of proof reversal fallacy to ask me to justify something about your claim. You understand that's fallacious reasoning.
Oh. I understand. Thank you. This is my first debate, by the way.
I couldn't give a toss. You're very poor at it because you've used a burden of proof reversal fallacy. That's poor. Poor show.
Okay. Thank you for pointing that out to me. I'll make note of that. And
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Forward.
Now, my pleasure. Further to your burden of proof reversal fallacy, you would need R for your assertion Earth was a sphere. Do you have that? It was my first question of you.
Do I have R? I'm using a physical observation, which is one of your standpoints, correct?
I haven't given you anything. I haven't told you what my standpoints are.
Well, I've watched enough of your videos.
To not know that you need R?
Only Nathan, he's going third time. Because of that, I was interrupting. Sorry.
Okie dokie. So, globe, Earth, your claim needs R. Earth radius. Do you have it? If so, where'd you get it?
Do I have it? I personally have not measured it myself, no.
Well, why are you asserting Earth's a sphere then?
Why am I asserting a sphere? The differences in stars and constellations and the perspective change on the moon.
Sorry, you'll need R for that. If you're going to assert that's taking place on a sphere, you'll need R.
No, I don't.
Okay, how do you claim that takes place?
Don't, Nathan.
Go ahead.
Nathan, my standpoint from my physical observations
Which is what?
are contrary I've already stated my position.
The Earth's a globe. That means you need R.
Place.
Globe shapes need R values, radius values.
Nathan,
Shh. Hand waving that your statement Earth's a sphere and you don't need R is nonsense. Do you not understand that?
Nathan.
Don't chant my name. Do you understand that to say in the first statement that you are on a globe requires R and you haven't got one?
Nathan, you
Don't chant my name.
like that.
Don't chant my name.
You don't get to talk to me like that. You don't.
Yeah, you can suck my balls, you fundy dick. You haven't got an R to claim you're on a globe. I'll talk to you however I like.
Is that,
No,
is that
no, you
appeal
don't
to
get-
format? Second fallacy now, then?
Yeah, appeal to format.
Not addressed
You're
at all.
being very petulant.
That's an ad hominem fallacy. You haven't got an R value. You've said you're on a globe. That requires R. Being on a globe requires an R. You've said you don't need it. Then you've said further to my observations. Well, the only statement that you've made is that you're on a globe and then your observation. So unless you're going to affirm the consequent with I'm on a globe, which requires an R, you're not going to get to actual globe proof for any of this crap.
You
Now,
already
with
conceded
that in
this is your
mind-
first debate, right?
Bro,
so
bro.
for you to judge the debate.
Why,
Right.
why is it so hard for you to provide who measured R? We know you didn't measure R, but why is it so hard for you to provide who did? And stop
Well,
yawning with the silly shit. Wake the fuck up. Answer
Silly
the
shit.
question.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
What silly
either
shit?
you've got
You
very
keep
bad
yawning.
manners
Yeah,
or
yeah,
not.
we're still asking for R. Now, the fact that you're yawning just is rude. If you're in a meeting with somebody and you're just yawning whilst talking, they'd consider you rude. So, okay, he's rude. Yes, most of them are rude. He doesn't have an R value, so his argument dies on his ass as soon as he says it's on a sphere, which he has.
No.
No, well, where'd you
Why
get
is-
your
why
R
is that
value?
funny?
Hello, guys in G+. So where'd you get your R value?
Here. Where did I get the R value? Well,
You've asked me that about 6 times, every single time I've asked it to you. So don't just repeat the question, give it me.
I'm answering your question. I like to repeat the question so that I can clarify my standpoint.
That's bullshit. People just buy time when they repeat question. It gives them time to think. It's a psychological defense mechanism to give you more time. Don't bullshit me about why you repeat what I say. I know why people repeat what I say.
Okay.
So get the fuck on with it, you dumb shit! Where'd you get her?
Well, other scientists, of course.
Oh, really? You think the scientific evidence of R? Excellent. What's that?
The scientific evidence of R. Well,
You said the scientists. Now you're going to repeat me to buy yourself a bit of time? That's right, you've said scientists. Therefore science for R. Give it me.
okay. The length of shadows, the distance traveled, the time and position of the sun.
They're all maths.
Mm-hmm.
So you
They're
said
all not the
science?
Earth as well.
Hello?
They're-
Hello? So you
Okay,
said science?
so with a
Sorry.
debate-
Hello?
With a de-
Hello? Do you not know the difference between
Hello?
science? Hello? Do you not know the difference between science and maths? Measuring things is what you've just given me. That's not science, you idiot.
Well, the first person to invent.
Oh, wow, this is boring dealing with a complete dumbo. Oh, you don't know the difference between maths and science, God. You're sending me to sleep, you complete dumbo.
The first person to
Oh,
measure
you're so
the
boring even as you start
radius
talking.
of the Earth with
enough.
erasticities.
Sorry, you're going to babble on about science because you've just said you've got scientists giving you R. Give it me. Where's R? We seem to be wandering into the weeds of not having R.
Would you like to state your point of view first before we
You've
have
said you've got science for R. I'm asking you to back your claim you've just made. Scientists, R. Okay. Go on. You've given me maths. No acknowledgement that you're stupid and that's not science. Do you understand the difference? Hasn't been answered. So none of my questions are getting answered. Do you not understand the difference between maths and science? You gave me measurements. That's not science. So clearly, you don't know the difference because you said
part of
scientists
science,
and then
it's part of the
started talking
process.
about measurements
It's a part
and then
of
talking
that.
through
It is a
me
part-
when I berated
it
you
is
for
a
your
part
stupidity.
of-
So why are you now talking through me, Fundy? Yeah, you've gone quiet now because you can't chant your way through everything I'm saying. So, that's called the religious fundamentalist mute button.
Mr. Oak,
Doing it now, chanting my name through me, telling you off. You haven't answered me, you left a little pause and then started chanting through me.
yes, because you continually interrupt me while I try to answer because there's a delay.
Okay, now that the line's clear and I've waited for you to shut up, Do you not know the difference between maths and science? You gave me measurements, that's not science. Clearly you don't.
Did you mute me?
Are you having a laugh? You've just chanted through me asking you this question, and then when I actually ask it to you, you ask if you're muted. Are you having a laugh?
Okay.
I am.
So, do I have an R value?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
You said
Where's
you didn't
my
need
evidence of that?
it. Really? You said you didn't need
Personally.
it. Why are you saying you've got one now when you said you didn't need one?
I don't need one.
So why have you got one if you don't need one?
Why do I have one? Because it's there.
But you said you don't
If
need
I
it.
don't need it.
Oh, you don't need it when you say globe. That's stupid. Yeah, that is stupid. Don't laugh at your own stupidity. To say you're on a spherical surface requires an R value for it. I've said you need an R value. Your attempt was to prove it without using R, just saying you're on a globe, which requires R. Now you're saying you've got an R value. And then you said scientists. Then you started asking if you'd been muted.
Because all of a sudden, I noticed that my name wasn't popping up. My voice thing wasn't popping up. I thought it was interesting.
Sorry, R, scientists, obfuscation much? We still aren't getting R, by the way, audience.
Okay, so let's continue forward. You're stuck on R.
No, you're stuck on R. I don't need one, you stupid idiot.
So you're very fixated on that.
No, I don't need one. You're needing an R value to say you're on a globe, and I don't need one. So it's not my fixation. It's my pointing out that you haven't got one. You haven't got one. I don't need one. Sorry, I don't need an R value. You're going to acknowledge that? Fixated on it. I don't need it.
Your claim. Can you prove your claim? You've made a claim now. Prove it.
I said I don't need it.
Prove it.
That I don't need R? What do I claim that needs R?
Prove it, bud.
Sorry, what do I claim that needs R, Dumbo? Yeah, you realise how stupid your question is? Yeah, Earth as a sphere definitely needs an R. I don't need R. You need one and haven't got one. So that's a big problem for you. It's not a problem for me.
Value. Prove there is no R value. Prove it. You're making a claim yourself. Prove it.
Okay.
Bro, do you think we live on a globe?
Hold on. If the Earth was a sphere, radius
Yes, I
30...
I was asked a question.
I'm trying to answer your question.
Fire away.
If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959, as claimed by Sphere Earth, the same globe you thought you were standing on, then every distance to horizon could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. And we have an image that shows demonstrably that it is in excess of an Earth sphere radius 3959 with an obstruction known as Earth curve at the horizon. So the horizon is not Earth curve, and that is where you derive your Al-Biruni dip angle measurement to get R in the first instance, so you haven't got R.
Where's your mathematical equation to prove that there's no radius? Where are your...
Sorry, I don't prove non-existence, Dumbo.
Prove it.
Sorry, I don't prove non-existence of things. You claim you have got... You claim you have got a sphere beneath your feet. I can debunk it based on the geometric limitations your claim requiring you have an R would be debunked by. So it's not my claim, idiot. I debunk it. You have a claim I can prove beyond all certitude that we don't have Earth sphere radius 3959 beneath our feet because we'd have geometric limitations at the horizon exactly as is claimed.
I think
No, if there is a horizon, if there is a horizon...
Arwin,
Sorry,
what are you
gentlemen,
doing?
Gentlemen, I'm speaking to Mr. Oakley. Thank you. I appreciate your cooperation.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. This is my show. I'll control the panel here, dickhead.
Oh, I'm just thanking them too.
Don't thank them. Just give me R.
So, if there is a horizon, there must be a curvature. There must be. Without a curvature, there can be no horizon.
What?
True or false?
But that's a baseless assertion. True or false? It's your claim that the horizon must be mandatorily there based on there being curvature.
It's true. And we can see this through the simple observation of ships out at sea. We can see this very simply with the setting of the sun.
Okay, talk me through it.
when watching a ship sail out to sea, we can see it obviously begin to sink from the bottom up through the from the base of the hull up to the top. Correct?
This is your claim.
Okay. So watching a ship sail out to sea, and you see these things go from the bottom up, it's going what appears to be over the horizon. Correct?
That's your assertion. Don't tell me that it's going over the horizon. That's an assumption of physicality at the horizon. So no. Do you want me to stop you right there, or do you want to continue?
I'll continue.
Why?
Continue.
You've just
Thank you
why?
for the
Sorry.
offer.
Hello. Why? You've just assumed.
Hello. Hi.
Sorry. Hello. Your statement just assumed the horizon's physical. Do you understand that that's a begging the question fallacy you've just employed? Another logical fallacy.
No, that is not a fallacy.
So when you say going over the horizon, it's not that you're assuming it's something physically going over something physical. Then that's not just your assumption.
Because there is a
Sorry, I'm pointing out that you're begging the question and you're ignoring me.
Sorry, repeat the question again.
No, you are begging the question. That would be to assume your outcome. To assume that the boat is physically going over something. That would make the horizon physical and the boat physically going over that physicality. That is you assuming the very thing you're trying to prove.
No, it's not.
You don't have to interrupt. I'm trying to explain to a dumbo what a begging the question fallacy is, and you're interrupting me. Try to listen and understand and comprehend rather than talk. Do you understand? I'm educating your dumbass on how you beg the question of physicality, the thing you're proving. The horizon must be physical because of Earth curve. Why? Well, because I assume boats physically go over it. That's begging the question, you dumbo.
Are you done?
What, telling you that you beg the question? Are you going to acknowledge that you beg the question? Do you know what begging the question is?
So when a ship goes over the horizon...
When you beg the question that it physically goes over the horizon, yes, that's begging the question, yes. You're going to ignore it and plough on anyway, no.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not. That's assuming your outcome. You're trying to prove the horizon's physical, and we've proven it isn't by showing it's beyond physical limitations of the geometry Earth sphere radius 3959. We've debunked its physicality. Just saying, I assume boats go over it, is begging the question.
I don't assume, I know they do.
Oh, you know they go over a physical geometric sphere edge. No, if the Earth was a sphere radius 3959, then every distance to horizon could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Black Swan. It is in excess of the geometric limitations that would provide physicality for your boat to go over. We've debunked that, my friend.
Answer my question.
You're going to ask me that I'm asking you? No, I've debunked your assertion it's physical because Black Swan, it's in excess of physical geometric limitations of said sphere radius 3959 Black Swan. We've shown it's beyond those limitations, so boats definitely aren't going over physical Earth curve edges.
Your proof has been disproved multiple times by people more knowledgeable than I.
Oh, really? How so?
How so?
Maybe
How
repeat
would
my
you
question
understand that?
back again. Yeah, that's right. You've claimed my Black Swan, which it isn't, has been debunked by more intelligent people. That's ad hominem attack. There's another logical fallacy he's thrown in, just for good measure. So I say, oh really? How has the very thing you've just claimed happened? And you repeat that question back to me. Is the thing you just claimed bewildering to yourself? That it needs repeating?
No.
So get the fuck on with it then. How has the Black Swan been debunked?
Can I ask your panel a question?
You could answer my question about your claim you just made and seem to be ignoring immediately. Maybe repeating it back to yourself wasn't enough time to think of an answer.
Okay, how has
The Black Swan been debunked like you just claimed? Yes, get on with it. That would be a total fail. No, it hasn't. The only claim that is supposedly debunking it is terrestrial refraction. That would be Earth refraction moving it with respect to itself based on an R value refraction that you can't get if you can't measure R. So no.
Nathan.
Say my name, bitch. Yeah, we've debunked your physical horizon for your assumption that boats go over it, my friend. Yeah, we're still in the same position, and you laughing about claiming it's been debunked by quote-unquote more intelligent people doesn't change the fact that it hasn't.
The reason I went silent is I had to take a deep breath because you're a very rude individual.
Another ad hominem attack. You haven't got to debunk the black swan. If Earth was a sphere, radius 3959, then every distance to a physical geometric horizon for boats to go over could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as claimed in your Earth curve mathematics when you say boats go over the horizon. However, the black swan shows beyond all certitude that the horizon is beyond those physical limitations you want to assume boats are going over. So no, you saying more intelligent people have debunked the black swan doesn't change that they haven't. That's where we're at.
Nathan, can I ask a question?
You could wait for this guy to get to the end of his begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator claim that boats go over the horizon that he thinks is physical by way of assumption when he begs the question. Still hasn't addressed that.
It is not by assumption. It is by actually witnessing it. It is actually.
So you witnessed physicality of boats going over a geometric limitation that we've debunked? No, you didn't. You just thought you did and assumed that it was physical. That's wrong. You're begging the question. You obviously don't understand what a begging the question fallacy is. You think the horizon is physical, and then when you see a boat reaching the horizon, you decide that it's going over a physical geometric limitation that we've debunked with the black swan, that you can't get around.
You continue to make a statement yourself, but you don't provide any evidence.
Black swan.
That's
my fucking evidence, dick shit.
Well, let's look at.
Let's stutter around the fact that you've just claimed I've got no evidence, and then I say black swan and you stutter a bit.
Well, let's look at.
Let's acknowledge the black swan as evidence.
Ranty disproved it.
Oh, Ranty, the guy who lied about me running from cats. I asked for R. Cats didn't want to deal with that, so he ran away from me. Ranty lied about that and said I ran away from him. So you want to trust Ranty? He's a lying shit.
No, I do.
Yeah, you're stuttering bitch, yeah. You still haven't got R.
Because
You haven't got R?
Your email.
Where's R? Give me R.
I've read your email.
Give me R.
Give you R.
Yeah, where'd you get it? Al-Biruni dip angle measurement of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon that you think's physical by assumption and begging the question fallacy has been debunked with the black swan evidence you haven't got around. Now you want to talk about Ranty? No, you haven't got R. It's the elephant in the room.
I'm using cats as a person who's proved it. I've used Ranty as a person who...
Oh, really? This is news to me, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently Cats has got R. Why didn't he just give it to Pat to pass on?
Because you asked not to have it.
No, I said he couldn't prove it. I said the show would run as me... you're going to chat through what I actually said because you're going to substitute on a Ranty or Cat's lies? I said it'd be very boring, me asking for an R value that we've debunked and then spending 80 to 100 times repeating that? That's boring.
I've read the emails.
Yeah, I said it would be boring.
To admit that our...
Sorry, I said it would be boring. I gave an example with quotes with what would be said, hypothetically speaking.
Yes, the 88...
Yeah, I said it'd be boring. And here we are asking for R and you not giving it us. And us just continually asking you over and over again for R. The elephant in the room you haven't got. And when I say black swan, because you say I haven't got evidence to prove that if the Earth was a sphere, radius 3959, as we assert when we assume R, that's debunked by the black swan, then the horizon distance for boats to go over, by way of begging the question fallacy, could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as per the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator that Cats and Ranty used to ask flat earthers why how many feet and inches are missing. But they need R for that, don't they?
Yes, and then...
Yeah, and they haven't got it, and neither of you. So when I asked for it, Cats ran.
The radius... Of
yeah, he hasn't got... He hasn't got it.
Kilometers.
He hasn't got it. It's debunked.
The radius of the Earth is 6,378.1 kilometers.
Chant it, Fundy. We've debunked that, because if it was, the horizon distance could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and the black swan shows that that's not the case.
And then you throw in refraction as well.
Refraction? What kind of refraction?
Light refraction through...
Sorry, your refraction on a globe is terrestrial refraction.
Oh, what's your celestial?
Terrestrial on a globe. That's your refraction. Do you know what terrestrial... Hello, Fundy.
Yours?
Hello,
Celestial?
hello. Why are you muting me?
Hello.
Why have you got me on mute?
I'm not muting you.
Can you stop talking to me then? So,
Who muted him? That's
Do you
rude.
want to know what refraction is on your globe? Because you don't seem to know. It's terrestrial.
No, I'm asking you what
I'm
your
in the middle of
refraction
talking.
is.
There you are with your
Explain
mute
to me
button
what
again.
your
There you are with your mute button. So, do you not know what
By all
terrestrial...
means,
There
mute
he is
me.
with his mute button again, ladies and gentlemen. This is what Katz needs. He needs somebody that will allow this. So, do you not know what terrestrial refraction is? You talked through me 6 times so far when I asked.
It's only been 4 times, actually. But
But you don't know what terrestrial refraction is? Because that seems like an obfuscation. This is... What? Not the 7th time I've asked you if you know what terrestrial refraction is?
I told you, it's only the 5th time.
What's
And
the
what is
standard
terrestrial-
calculation?
What is terrestrial refraction?
Yeah, yeah.
It is simply,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
already stated what it was.
Yeah, what
I
is
already
it?
told you what refraction was.
What is it? Terrestrial refraction, and that's refraction on a globe. What is it?
I already told you.
What is it?
I already stated it.
Oh, well, then you're no good to me then. Because I don't hear you telling me that it's based on R.
How did you not hear that?
Oh, so
I
it's
said
based on
that
R?
Refraction. I told you that refraction is light refracting through humidity.
No, that's wrong. Your refraction's based on R. That's incorrect.
No, it's not. Have you ever gone scuba diving before? Have you
So
ever
that's
gone
not refraction
swimming?
on
Have
a
you ever
globe,
not
my
seen
friend.
light?
Hello? Hello? You've got a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator to assert that the geometric horizon has got boats going over it, and the refraction in your globe maths, that's what you utilise to assert things go over a horizon that's physical and geometric. That's based on R.
So I'm just going to keep talking because...
Oh, really? What, because you don't like hearing that your refraction claim that debunks, according to you, the black swan by moving the horizon to a non-geometric location with R that is derived from a geometric measurement of R with the horizon? That's paradoxical. Yeah, you think you're just going to carry on talking straight through that? Yeah. That's why you probably moan and say you need a neutral platform. Well, I point out that it's paradoxical to refract the horizon with R, because the measurement of R is based on the horizon.
Further.
Yeah, you're just going to chant straight through me.
Light bends.
You're going to keep chanting that light bends. That's not terrestrial refraction, which is refraction on a globe, though, and you're ignoring me.
You continually are arguing that my...
How come people on your side tell us that you can't see this geometric horizon, that it's only in the maths? And they say the horizon we do see is only apparent.
What he's saying is boats go over a geometric horizon. It's physical. It goes over it. Now he's saying the horizon's refracted with an R that he needs a horizon to be physical to refract it with. So if the horizon's now refracted, it's not got boats going over it then? That was just merely an optical effect. But suddenly we've got a refracted horizon, whereas 2 minutes ago he begged the question that boats physically went over it. So we're in a paradox now. Boats are physically going over a non-physical refracted horizon, according to him. It's paradoxical. Furthermore, his refraction's based on R. He needs R to refract the horizon. And he hasn't got it because the horizon's derived from an R value-based horizon.
You can see further because of refraction.
That's based on R for you, so you're going to need R for your refraction. I've said that 3 times.
Can you disprove R?
Nathan, if you refract light, you see further. The more refraction, the further you see. The more you disrupt the image, the better you see. Is that what you just said?
You can. You can bend light to see further.
Non sequitur. The fact that you can bend light has nothing to do with corrections for R-based refraction on a globe in globe geometry. Your assertion that boats go over a geometric physical limitation, that would be Earth curve, is a geometric assertion, and your geometric refraction's based on R. Now, I don't give a crap what you do when you try and bait and switch actual refraction, that's light bending, and Fundy mute the crap out of me explaining this, because this guy is chanting like hell while I'm saying this, so he's assuming that you're not going to get through, right? Maybe complain that you're getting muted while I start talking and you chant through every damn word of it. Yeah, your refraction isn't light bending. Yeah, there he is chanting. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is why you need your neutral platforms. So that when a devastating disclosure comes through from me that your refraction that he's using to claim he's got over and around the black swan is based on R. And he'll constantly try and bait and switch my audience with, no, light bends. Yeah, that's not terrestrial refraction, though, which is globe refraction.
Well, at present, he's claiming that boats go over refraction.
Yes, I did point that out as well, Brian.
No.
The paradox that he's got boats going over a physical horizon, he assumes. Now he's telling me that's a refracted position that boats are going over? That makes no sense.
Dude,
How do you measure something that's refracted?
Pardon me, sorry, I was speaking.
How do you measure
How do I
something
measure
not
that's
understand?
Okay, thank you. To answer that question, how do you measure something that's refracted? Personally, I don't know.
Well, why are you claiming it then, you dumb shit?
Oh my God.
Because it's a physical observation.
Oh, so it's physical and refracted? That's a paradox, dumb shit.
No,
You
it
just
isn't.
said that you're
So boats go over
your
physical
ignorance,
refracted
dude.
horizons then? They're going over the physical refraction, are they? Hello, you stupid shit!
Hey,
It's going over the physical refraction, is it, dumb shit?
there.
You stuttering dumb shit. No, he says. And then I say, oh, so boats go over the physical refraction. Do they, dumb shit? No, they do not, dumb shit. No, they do not. You're just dumb. Yet you've got a paradox. Boats physically going over a horizon. You're fighting to prove it's physical, only to later disclaim that it's refracted. With R. Terrestrial refraction's what you're using on a globe. If it's light refracting on a globe, it's going to be R-based refraction. That's what your refraction is. You seem to think it's something to do with light bending. No. Your Muppet Vision light refracting through a globe, that's R-based terrestrial refraction and needs R. So you're going to need to measure the horizon physically, but apparently you're going to refract it. So you definitely can't measure R with it anymore because you're refracting it.
Are you done?
Am I done? What, annihilating this prick? Yeah, I've pointed out that so far you've used about half a dozen different fallacies. You've claimed as your first debate, yet you know intimately all about cats. You've read an email back to front and inside out. And yet you can claim physicality at the horizon and paradoxically boats are going over refraction. Yet you're asking me if I'm done. No, mate, you've been annihilated. You're a prick. You got annihilated. You definitely didn't prove R. You danced around it quite a lot. Now you're proving that the horizon's refracted with R when you can't measure R and you haven't given me R. So you got absolutely annihilated here, mate.
So there was a question that was asked to me.
No, there was a statement of fact. You got pummeled. You didn't have R. You tried to refract the horizon with R. You used a begging the question fallacy to assume its physicality, and then paradoxically claimed it was refracted later in your argument. You're done. You're out of here. Now fuck off.
No.
No, you're going to keep here chanting at me and asking me questions I don't need to answer. Yeah, no you won't. Sod off. Go away.
I'm asking your panel.
No, you're not asking anything. I've made a declaration. A winning declaration. You don't have R. Your attempt to get around the Black Swan needs an R for your refraction. That's where we're at.
Nathan, there's a delay. You've attacked my personal credibility.
I haven't attacked your credibility. I've attacked your argument. You've tried to refract the horizon with R. Paradoxically meaning you're simultaneously claiming boats go over a physical horizon and boats go over refracted non-physical positions that can no longer derive R to move them with R.
Putting over top of people.
Oh, so while you chant through my demolition summary, you're going to tell me that I'm, what, talking through you and you start in the middle of my sentence chanting through me?
No, you're extremely rude.
Oh, right, that's an ad hominem attack. Meanwhile, you don't have an R value. You definitely don't have a geometric horizon to assume boats go over it, especially when you're telling me how non-physical it is when you say it's refracted. Further to that, refracting the horizon means you can't measure R with it, and the R you're refracting with it is based on R. So you are basically screwed in every single way here.
Do you not hear yourself?
What, annihilate you? I do hear myself daily annihilating people just by asking for R. I then watch them run away and claim I've run away from them.
You ran away from me.
No, I annihilated your argument just by asking you for R, which you said you didn't need. Presumably you must realise at some level that claiming R leaves you screwed immediately, so you said you didn't need it. So at some level you appreciate that you require it, but don't want to claim it because you know it's going to get pummeled with the Black Swan, which you think you can get around by refracting the very thing is used to derive R with an R-based refraction. That's where we're at.
Explain to me the differences.
Don't demand anything of me. You've lost.
Of the moon.
Don't demand anything of me. Don't chant and then move on just because you've lost.
Hey, I would like your panel members to...
I don't give a shit what you want. You've lost.
The difference.
You've lost. You don't get anything.
Prove it.
You don't have an R value. If the Earth was a sphere radius 3959, then every distance to horizon could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. And the black swan shows it's beyond those physical geometric limitations. So you can scream and shout and chant while I'm saying this to you and try and mute me to only claim I've been muted. Yeah, that's because a fundamentalist religious zealot mute button won't work when I point out how your argument fails. Just not listening to it by chanting through it doesn't change that the audience hears what you must run from and chant through and ignore and say is unreasonable to ask for concession on. That's that you don't have R.
If I was running, I would have been gone, but I'm
Give
still
me R.
here. I'm
Give me
still
R.
willing to have a
Give me
discussion
R.
with you.
Give me R. Give me R. Where'd you get it?
I already told you, 6,300.
That's just a number. Where'd you get the measurement of it?
Where did I get the measurement from?
Oh, I think I'm suddenly really tired now I'm being asked for R. The thing that conspiracy cats ran from, then lied about.
He is very tiring.
Yeah, tiring asking for R day in, day out. And when you ask for it, apparently it's an unreasonable concession. And instead, we should accept 80 to 100 renditions of me asking you for R. Where'd you measure it?
Actually,
Where'd you get it?
Probably about 22 times.
Yeah, you summarise how many times you've asked a really cracking question here, given that you claimed you're on a globe immediately after denying you needed R for that claim.
Yeah, I'm asking you the why there's a difference in stars and constellations.
Who gives a shit? I'm not making a claim about it. Back to your original burden of proof reversal fallacy that you conceded. What a wanker.
Well,
So what a wanker, ladies and gentlemen. Concedes and understands he's using a fallacy, but when he loses on R, just like Katz did, he wants to move back to his begging the question and reversal of proof reversal fallacy. No thanks.
Educate me then.
I did. I told you what burden of proof reversal fallacy was. You said you understood and now you're using it again.
I'm asking you.
You stuttering bitch, yeah, I know. So where'd you get R? Where'd you get your measurement for this R value, that your fraction that you think you're removing the horizon with? Why'd you chant through me every time I start asking you a question? Are you scared of me? Running away. Chanting through me is running away from my question about R. Yes, that's right. Me having to repeat it 80 times because you've chanted through it each time, so you didn't have to listen to it, is you running away from this. That's right.
No, it's not me running away from it.
Would you prefer there was a nice, fair, unbiased moderator telling me to shut up?
For you, every time I answer you, you continually shout over me and call me names.
No, I don't. I say you haven't got R. Where'd you get it?
Thank you. Where did I get it?
Yeah, I think you should ask me the question back.
Do you accept the answer that I gave you?
You haven't given me an answer.
Get it.
How did NASA get it?
No. Where did you get it? To assert that the horizon was physical and having boats go over it, like you claimed. And then I pointed out that asking me about it would be a burden of proof reversal fallacy, which you conceded and then used a minute ago, after I pointed out, roll on chanty funting any moment. Chanty funting, fundy chanting will start any moment. So when I pointed out that you're trying to refract the horizon with an R-based refraction that requires the horizon to be physical to measure it, that's where we're at in this discussion. Lots of chanting and talking through me, but that's where we're at.
I hesitate to answer because I'm concerned that you're going to start just shouting at me over top of me again.
Do you understand, though, how important this R value is, that you have it before you can move forward?
Yes,
Cats
I do.
didn't. Cats didn't, and neither did Pat. You see, Pat saw it as an unreasonable concession to ask for. But yeah, this dick's been here for a good solid 20 minutes trying to dodge it.
So yes, I do understand how important the R value is in,
chop then.
this side of the argument.
Excellent. Where'd you get it? How's it measured?
I already answered that question.
Oh, really? Well, then fuck off, because you haven't answered that, and just saying you have doesn't wash here, dickhead.
You said, where did I get it? I said I got it from NASA.
Oh, where did NASA get it?
Where did they get it?
Well, do you need to ask me every single question I put to you to buy yourself a little time? Yeah, you're not going to pass the buck. How did NASA measure it? Hello?
And also, how did you validate NASA's information? How did
you don't know?
NASA's information?
Paul, do you mean you don't know?
That is an excellent question. How do I validate it? I have to go on the fact that they've studied maths and astrophysics and geology
Yeah,
and
but
all sorts of wonderful
Who
things like
measured
that.
R? Who
Bro.
measured R, and what did they do?
Sorry,
That's
it's
the
the
question.
same exact question. You've had it about, what, 25 times? Maybe you'd like to say it's only 12. Who cares? Where'd you get the measurement? Where's R coming from? Don't just say NASA.
He just believes that they've got it.
Yes, I do.
Oh, really? Well, the R value assertion from NASA is Earth radius 3959 miles. And if that was the case...
Yes.
Yeah, you don't need to talk, I'm talking, thank you. Don't nod along. If that was the case, then every distance to horizon measurement could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. It's the horizon marked with an X labelled horizon in your begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator. That R value was derived by dip angle to the horizon. A physical horizon, Al-Biruni measured to get a tangent to it. So, without it being at that limitation that NASA claim at 3959, which you just trust in, you haven't got anything to make a claim that Earth's a sphere anymore. You need that R value for every
Physical
claim.
observations.
Yeah, you hadn't quite finished. I know you really, really want to chant through this. Your mute button doesn't need using, thank you. So in spite of the fact that NASA tell you you've got a 3959 mile radius for a sphere Earth beneath your feet, which would necessitate every horizon being no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That's the geometric limitations of that sphere radius that NASA gave you and you trust in. And the horizon's beyond those limitations. Yeah, you just still need to chant through the conclusion every time. We've debunked R, my friend. You haven't got 3959 radius anymore. It's beyond those limitations of those geometric capabilities of that sphere that you thought you were on because NASA told you.
Okay. Are you done?
I would say a 20-second pause is a general indication that I've got at least 5 more sentences if I'm a complete retard like you.
By all means, have more. You seem to have a lot to say continually.
You seem to have nothing to say when I point out that the Earth's sphere radius 3959 is debunked. There's long silences after I point that out. Unless, of course, you're chanting through it like you're doing now. Then when you chant through things, you don't seem to recognise them at all because you talk through them and have to repeat them over and over again. It would be far easier if there was someone on your side here telling me to shut up, wouldn't it?
No.
Well, why the long pause? I point out that it's beyond the limitations of a sphere Earth radius 3959 that NASA told you about, and there's a long pause. And then you ask me if I'm done? Did the long pause not suggest that? Hello, dickhead, your last question. Are you done? Yeah, the long pause that came after my statement of fact indicated that to everybody watching. It's just you didn't have a response.
No. I was waiting for you to finish because you can.
Oh, the 20-second pause didn't indicate that I was finished, dipshit.
Ad hominem attack.
No, that is genuine stupidity. If you don't recognise that somebody's sentence has finished when there's a massive pause, that literally makes you stupid. That's not me not responding to an argument you've put forward, which is what an ad hominem attack is. So clearly, even though I had to explain it to you earlier, you don't actually understand what an ad hominem attack is. A statement of fact about your stupidity, not recognising that somebody's not talking when there's a massive prolonged silence, and you need to ask if they're done, makes you stupid.
You dumb shit, we debunked R. It's over.
Yeah, did you hear Neil? We've debunked R, you dumb shit. Don't ask me if I'm done, we've debunked R. The globe's done. You're done.
With the numbers...
Stutter for me, bitch! That's right, stuttering Simon. We've debunked R, stuttering twat. Now ask me if I'm done.
We haven't. You haven't.
Yeah, we have. If Earth was a sphere, radius 3959, as you assert from NASA, then every distance to horizon could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. I'll add the curve maths. For your boat to go over. And the black swan evidence you deny and simultaneously already know the debunking for. There's no evidence for that, black swan. Oh, I already know the overcome for that. In spite of you claiming this is your first debate. You already know the overcome to the argument for the black swan, which you deny as being evidence, and yet this is your first time. Do you think we came with the last drop of rain?
You know what's funny,
Sorry,
dude?
I don't understand your slang.
I don't understand how somebody who could only be here for the first time could know every single argument that could be here and the rebuttals to talk through them just at the right moment. I don't know what you're implying.
You know, before you asked for an equation, right? You remember you did that? You wanted an equation. The funny part is that your own equation from your own globe math debunks your own argument. I don't think you understand that yet, but that's what's going on here. This is why you've destroyed yourself from the moment you got here, when you asserted that the horizon is physical, and then once laced with the black swan, all of a sudden now it's optical. It's refraction, right? Terrestrial refraction, which you don't even understand. So you don't see how you snatched your own wig off from the moment you got here.
A terrestrial refraction is, in standard form, 7/6 of a radius, but can be massaged to any value that is required to move an object with respect to the horizon. So any value you like, respect to r. So 7/6 of the radius in standard form would be terrestrial or globe-based refraction. That's what you said was going on with the horizon. It's refracted. Well, if it's refracted on a sphere, it's terrestrial refraction based on r.
So therefore, you can't say terrestrial refraction to prove the R, because you need R for terrestrial refraction.
Yeah, where'd you get the R?
Get that?
Where'd you get the R for your refraction?
We debunked R.
Where'd you get the R for your refraction that you said? That's where we're at. I pointed out where we were at, and there was a lot of fundy muting and obfuscation. So you're refracting the horizon with R. Where'd you get R?
Our debunk of R is explained away by an R-based refraction.
We don't need R. But should the horizon be pointed out as non-physical, and I'm trying to prove it's physical, I'll say it's refracted with R. And then ask what terrestrial refraction is. Yeah, you're doing really well, my friend.
How can you measure refraction?
Yeah.
Yeah, you need R for your refraction. Where'd you get it?
That question was asked me earlier. Yes, thank you for bringing that back up. How can I measure refraction?
No, terrestrial. No. Terrestrial refraction. Are you dumb or deaf?
You would have to get the
height
of the object.
How do you measure something physical if it's refracted all the time? You can't measure it as physical, as you're not seeing it as physical. You're seeing it in a refracted position. So it would be, the whole thing is impossible. You don't understand that. And the refraction you're trying to measure is based on you actually seeing the physical thing that you can't see because it's refracted.
Exactly.
And you don't have that refraction because you don't have the physical thing to measure. It's a whole thing. It's circular reasoning. It's nonsense.
It's not circular reasoning. It's paradoxical at that point. With that, though, I am going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you, first and foremost, to both Discord and G+ panels making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you watching live, smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Also, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, a link in the info box below this video. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Understand, or they're retarded. No, I can't even credit them with being retarded. That's too much for them. It's actually, they're just anti-flat earthers in a very small segment, much smaller than
But he came on as a Glober.
The people who believe in fucking
No, he
Bigfoot.
didn't.
They're smaller than that. So.
Sorry,
I'd
Eli.
say he came on as a globe.
No, he
he's an
didn't.
anti-flat earther.
You don't come on and say the boats are going over a physical geometric sphere at horizon called Earth curve and later say it's refracted. That's doublespeak. That's clearly an anti-flat earther, Neil.
Yes,
I mean, they
no, but he
contradict
came on
themselves
saying
all the
globe.
time. They like same thing. They do the same thing with gravity. They want to say it's a force, but then they also want to say it's any space time. They depending on the context, they can flip flop.
Yeah, I don't need R. Well, I've got R. Well, why do you need R? Because I've got it. I don't need it. I've got it, though. Well, how'd you get it?
All his
I think-
observations are based on.
I think Adam had the best line. He said, "Your proof is your ignorance," to the guy when the guy claimed something and didn't have the proof.
No, I like scuba diving in the air.
Is he still here?
Probably.
Yeah,
It's kind of worrying because I think that was probably recruit number one out of Conspiracy Cat's anti-flat Earth camp. I think that's
correct. They send it in. They send it in the. They send it in the grunts.
Oh, they're
They
pissed.
send them in one by one.
They're pissed. I thought this would have died last week, but they're pissed because they've all been told I ran away, and then they've read an email thread where I am going blue in the face at the coast, going, "This is not me wanting to not debate. Just need you to address a couple of concerns about having to repeat things over and over again and not having R." The elephant in the room didn't get addressed. 150 comments later, I said it in the pre-show. Nobody's addressing R. This guy comes on, I don't need it. Okay, let's see how you get on. Well, I'm on a sphere. Yeah, you need R. That's how long you lasted, about 5 seconds.
And this is a perfect example of you have to go over it and over it and over it and over it because they won't address it.
Yeah, poor show.
You know what's really annoying? It's his pseudo confidence he has with his fake bullshit yawning into the microphone like he's so confident he's gonna be coming here so lazy and just be like, "Oh, I'm so lazy. I'm gonna yawn into the fucking microphone." Like, what a fucking bitch.
Is that Eric?
I hate him.
He did see you.
Yeah.
Can you just drop and rejoin? Your light's not flashing. There's some audio issue.
This
Yeah,
guy
Neil,
thinks he
tells
won.
you a lot about them, doesn't it? If they think they can come on and represent themselves like that, and that if that's what a good, an intelligent person sounds like to them, and that's what they're mimicking, that says a lot about their cognition, their understanding, what's going on, and more importantly, how they. And this is why I love it. How the listener hears that. Doesn't matter how frustrating he is to us. But normies are listening to this, and he's their best they've got.
Agreed.
He sounds like this guy, this comedian that does like journalism now. His name is Jimmy Dore, and often he has this guy on his show that impersonates George Clooney, and that's exactly how that guy just sounded. This nonchalant, just I don't know. It's very weird. Seeing as that I see them as flat earthers now, I don't know what to make of how weird what he just did is, because it's not smart. Like Adam said, I mean, they say things that are to any rational person, it just sounds ridiculous for them to be stringing sentences together like that. I know that's not a globe earther because I'm a globe earther, and I know that that's not what I would have to do to prove that I live on a ball. Hell no.
Well, I was very grateful to him. It's been a few days without fundies. Thank you very much if you're still here.
Was that in a cathartic way, Nathan? Yeah.
Explain what cathartic means.
I need to get it out to be almost therapeutic for you. It's been a while since you've had a blaster to Fundy.
No, I think it's educational. I was thinking about this morning, but something that stuck in my mind that Tommy had said. So it's like when you're debating with these fundies, you get frustrated that you're repeating it, but it's not a bad thing because you're drilling it into the audience. And I thought about it and I was like, yeah, he's right. When we talk about it casually, it's too succinct. It's the point, the globe argument, the rebuttal, the potential anti-flat earth rebuttal to the rebuttal, and then the conclusion, and then potentially move on, a bit like housekeeping. But if there's somebody like that here, it's actually far more advantageous to the audience. As Tommy was pointing out, if you've got somebody there that's saying, no, I don't need R for that, and I have to explain it in a slightly different way, then the next way I explain it, or Chocolate's interjection where he says, why aren't you getting, you require R for your refraction, it might take somebody else repeating it to drill it into the person listening. So from that respect, it's not that I need to get it out. Far from it. There are no demons here, and Adam, I've got nothing, no issues or concerns to need to exercise at the moment.
It was a tongue-in-cheek statement, obviously, but it's. I think we've all missed it. We've all missed that. We've had that for a few days. A Fundy coming in, talking absolute double speak, and using the appeal to format. Like
I stood silent as long as I could.
That's all good. Like I say, that will be of benefit to somebody watching. They'll learn something from that, which is good. So you can only thank him for that. But the general mindset is, how's his mentality capable of that? How can he be this way? It's like, I don't know, they're all like that. That's just how they go. If you take the purple pill, then that's how you end up.
But I don't think he understood that. He started out where he traveled the world, and then he started talking about observations, and it's all based on awe.
What was he? What was it he claimed he traveled the world as? Was he a sailor?
Doesn't matter. He didn't, but it doesn't matter really. As soon as he said,
I don't know, but Adam,
he may have used a sextant.
Adam said, would you scuba dive in the air?
See. Yeah, it's a shame he's not still here, Brian. Good point. So if he's travelled all over the world, maybe he used a sextant.
And if he did, he would have to have used it on a flat surface, right?
Well, guess what? Well, I guess this would be moving on. So if anyone has any other thoughts, because I saw something yesterday. Go ahead.
Yeah, speaking of sextant, Nathan, I said I was going to show you something. I just posted in Master B. I think Brian's going to enjoy this.
I thought that was funny, Temp. One person said the word sextant, and 10 pictures appeared in Master B a second later.
Well, I proceeded in the pre-show, Adam, I told Nathan I had something to show him, so it was just a good cue.
Perfect timing is what I meant.
Okay, which one do you want up first?
Physics of a Global Navigation, Alex Rose.
Okay.
All right, so I ran across this the other day. I think Brian's going to enjoy this because his videos targeted this. Here's a Physics of Global Navigation, School of Physics and Astronomy, University of Manchester, 2012. Next slide. As you can see here, one of the earliest forms of navigation was by observing celestial bodies, by observing Polaris, the most visible star in Ursa Minor, which lies almost along the axis of rotation of Earth. One can tell the direction of true north to an accuracy of 1 degree. Eventually, as our knowledge of physics and astronomy were increased, celestial navigation became sophisticated with the invention of the sextant. I'm going to go to a better picture so I can read the next thing, but you can move on to the next slide. This for my sake, that is. All right, so next one says, the sextant is a device which can be used to measure the angular separation between two objects. The user points the sextant at the first object of interest, usually the horizon in navigation, and then slides the index bar until the light from the second object is reflected off the index mirror and horizon mirror, such that the two images are horizontally aligned when observed through the telescope. The shades simply prevent eye damage. Using the vernier scale micrometer drum, it is then possible to read the angle to a high level of precision. Next slide. You see the picture to the left there with the one circle of equal altitude with the center having a right angle 90. To ensure that the object is at the lowest possible point, the sextant is rotated along the axis of the telescope, and the time of measurement and altitude are noted. By measuring the angle of theta of known star from the horizon and using a book containing known reference values for the star in position at the time of measurement, that would be the nautical almanac, it is possible to determine the distance r along the surface of Earth to the point at which the star is exactly overhead. From this, a navigator knows he's on a specific circle along the plane of the surface of Earth, of radius r, known as the line of position. He does not know his direction from this point. However, by examining a second star, a second radius can be deduced. The navigator now knows he is at one of 2 points where both circular functions meet. In the case that there is only one real route, he knows his position, although this is only possible, are you ready, if the radii are parallel. More realistically, he can look up a third star in order to find the intersection between 3 circles. This will give him his location to a certain precision based on the precision of his watch, altimeter, and divisions on the reference table. There is reasonable scope for both human error and accumulative lack of precision. Last slide, or second last slide. This is the drawing that was on the paper. 3 circles of equal altitude with radius, that is, from each one coming to the observer. Brian, do you like this?
I like it. It's a good depiction. So instead of having the triangles coming from random parts on the circle on this diagram, you've got them coming from the fix, exactly how it would be done. So you've got, although you can't see the third, you can see the 2 angles that you're measuring with your sextant and the flat line to the 90-degree point below the GP of the star. This is a great diagram.
Fantastic for the guy to offer it up.
I like the word parallel.
Yeah, there's language in that. I'll send you the whole thing, Brian, because this fits what you're doing as well with your work on the sextant.
Thank you, Tent.
Very
What's
good.
interesting is, unlike the Black Swan, like we've educated you anti-flat earthers and whatever tactics you would use to play this game. The problem is you're not playing the game anymore. So like with the Black Swan, they came in one after the other to get their face hidden with a shovel. 10th Man has been slowly talking about the sextant first in the morning, the pre-show. Then, more robustly through the show. Now it's the year of the sextant. No one has even come forth to address the argument at all.
It's not possible to address it. Sorry.
I was saying except for a cool move. That's it.
If you look at the diagram where there's the S1, S2, and S3, that'd be star 1, star 2, and star 3. If you look at that diagram, if you imagine that those 3 circles of equal altitude all have a diameter, or let's say 2 of them have a diameter of 800 miles or 8,000 miles, and one of them has a diameter of 3,000 miles. If you convert that to globe, then your angle to those stars will completely change everything, because they won't be like that. They'll be in a different angle altogether. So my point being there is that if this was something that was done on a globe, besides the fact that it can't due to the circle of equal altitude being a 2D circle, and it needs flat, if this was done on a globe, it would make it pointless to ever do it, presuming flat, because once you convert it to globe, everything changes. All your positions, where the stars are, your angles to the stars, that completely changes as soon as you start using the center of the globe, a pre-assumed radius. So what it would there'd be absolutely no point in them doing this and then using these flat measurements if we were on a globe. The whole thing would be absolutely a pointless act if you were going to convert that to taking angles from the center of a globe and then doing everything. Why would you ever even waste your time doing 3 circles of equal altitude?
You don't, they can't, they won't ever be able to be capable of doing it. And when they describe being able to do it on a globe, it doesn't work. This is how it's actually done. They don't do it on a globe. There's nothing else to say, really. This is how they do it. And it doesn't take place on a globe. If it did, it wouldn't work. That's the end of the argument.
Well, the circle of equal altitude, as Brian has shared, and we all know, is 2-dimensional. It's a circle. It has a radius. And this guy says here, without any doubt, let me go back to it. It is possible to determine the distance r, meaning radius, along the surface of the Earth. So now you got a radius on the surface of the Earth. Well, how do you get a radius on the surface of the Earth when it's a straight line? From this, a navigator knows he's on a specific circle along the plane of the surface of the Earth. This circle of equal altitude is a plane of radius r, known as the line of position. He says a second radius must be deduced in order to get a fix. Now the navigator now knows he's at one of those points where the circular functions meet, where the 2 circles cross each other. Then he says, in this case, there is only one real route. He knows his position, although this is only possible if the radius are parallel. How's that possible on a curved surface?
It isn't.
How's that possible in a paper that's titled Global Navigation?
Because
anything's possible on paper.
Adam's picked up on this. I've said this so many times now. You put the dirty detail on the front cover so no one pays attention to it.
Like when your science book has a globe on the front.
No, you just say globe, which it isn't, and then you continue brazenly to talk about flat planes and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, because everything else relates to what you said first, globe.
Right.
Even though you said flat plane.
Right, so you just have to calculate it back to the original flat plane and then derive how it would be through circumdicular geometry, and then you know.
No, you don't have to do that bit. That's not necessary. Totally surplus to requirements, in fact.
No, you say on the front cover, this is how you navigate on a globe. Then when you open the book, you talk about calculating things on flat planes. You don't mention it ever again.
Yeah, it's the same with
it. You don't say it's not possible.
Because that's when you take the geometric considerations, man.
No. There are no geometric considerations. What Adam and I are trying to say is, if the book is called Navigation of a Globe, then everything inside that book is assumed to be taking place on a globe. From there on forward, you can detail it all on a flat plane, and even say parallel across the flat plane in the description of what you're doing with circles of equal altitude on a flat plane. But because it's titled on a globe, obviously the natural assumption is that's because that's how it's done on a globe, isn't it? No, it couldn't be done that way if the surface was curved, which is what being on a globe would be, but so long as it's right on the front cover, nobody will pay attention to that bit. Yeah? Likewise, you show a picture or even a 3-dimensional rendered model of a globe, aka Google Earth. And then every single usable measurement that they're actually taking money for it to be used with is flat. No drop. So show a big globe and actually measure and demonstrate and utilise flat.
I'll quote it.
Right, you can
from
think
the
of it
second paragraph that 10th put up. So there we go. So navigation from a globe. Second paragraph. From this, a navigator knows he is on a specific circle along the plane of the surface of Earth.
Wow.
Brazen.
Yeah, that's the bit I was referring to. The 10th man read out. From this, a navigator knows he is on a specific circle along the plane of the surface of Earth. Right. So you don't need to disclaim anything other than what you're doing. If this section here, in this diagram, had a curve to it, you couldn't derive the right angle to the point below the star on a flat surface. Now you're going to do this 3 times, and they're all going to meet at a point, O, marked here. So let's just go back to that diagram. O, here. Well, you've done it once for the first depiction, and then you do it twice more. Well, if each of these lines on the bottom of these triangles were curving away from the position that you're doing this measurement with a sextant from, it wouldn't work anymore.
Would you speculate that the author is bullshitting? He knows his bullshit?
One more time, Eric.
I'm wondering if 10th would speculate that the author of what you guys are reading knows that he's bullshitting. Like, he must be a flat earther, right? Like, how can you write that and not know?
Not bullshitting, it's just describing triangulation, but he's just put the cover heading as globe, Earth, navigation.
He's just told himself that no, the Earth is very, very big, so it wouldn't matter. And all the angles from the center work the same because it's the same angle as off a flat plane. And he just accepted that without ever investigating.
And if you don't think about it, and all you do is then do the flat calculations and you've accepted that false analogy, then you carry on having those calculations confirm to you that you're navigating on a ball. Because you've never bothered to look at it. It's only when you look at it and go, hold up, that you realise it's impossible. But otherwise, you just keep mugging yourself off. There's like so many things, isn't it? You're just doing it, aren't you?
One of you's got your mic wide open. Eli. Go on, can you repeat that, Adam? Sorry.
Yeah. I'm not implying he's malicious or that there's any intent to deceive even. I think unless you do challenge it or inquire yourself, and I think myself included, why did we didn't bother in the past inquiring. You just accepted things. If all you're doing is doing that and navigating, and the front of your book that you navigate from says it's on a globe, and then you go in and you do all that maths and it gets you there every single time, then that's confirmation that it's a globe to you till you inquire. There's nothing malicious in that, is there, from the individual per se? It's just in the paradigm.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you read what's written, it's honest, it's truthful, it's exactly how you do it. It's an honest, correct description. But he's not alluding to anything. He's just describing exactly what you do and how you do it. Maybe it hasn't dawned on him.
Well, it's the same thing with the guy earlier. It's a paradox. If they understand it and they hold both positions at the same time, it becomes a paradox. It's just we got them doing it with the black swan, and hopefully we'll soon get them in the paradox with the sextant.
It just seems like they've convinced people that the Earth is so big that you can accept that it's a globe and still call it a plane at the same time. It's like a brainwashing mind trick.
Yeah, but if you look at the picture, sorry, Brian, but if you look at the picture with the 3 S's, as Brian pointed out, do you see that square box? That's a right angle. You need 2 straight lines, no curvature. This is how they get it. Now they can see that it's representing a right angle triangle for triangulation. And everyone knows you need a 90 degree and perpendicular to get that. And then when you finish the triangulation with your siding with a sextant, you've got this triangle that you see here. But the surface is flat, or it can't work. This hasn't hit them yet.
the comments I have on the videos at the moment is that those who have accepted what horizon dip correction is are now saying, like, I got a couple of comments where they were trying to not lie, but they were trying to logic it for themselves and still stay on a globe. So they were saying, well, you only bring the straight line out just to where the horizon is. It's kind of where it's like they're missing the point that no, the radius could be 5,000 miles, so the horizon could be only 3-4 miles away from you. So you can't just bring a straight line to the horizon just to get an angle. You know, you can treat the horizon as a straight just out the horizon, then get your angle, and then it all works fine. And how they would normally accept this in their head would be, because the angle is the same from the center of the globe anyway, and you know they're missing all the important things. It's like, no, the angle from the center of your globe would be completely different. You know, if you're taking it off a curved surface, which you wouldn't be able to do, even if unless you did what you're saying by pretending that the horizon is a straight line from your position, you still would only have 3 or 4 miles of a radius when you might need thousands of miles, and the angles would be all different. You wouldn't be able to triangulate yourself. You know, it is they can't. The horizon might be only 4 miles away, but the radius is 5,000 miles. It's 4 miles from your visual location, but it extends beyond that. You know, go higher, you'll see it extending out to the point where it will only appear to rise to your eye level. That's how much it will extend.
Well, based on the guy that came earlier, he's thinking the sextant's going just to the horizon because Earth curve starts after that. But then you couldn't have circle of equal altitude or your 90 degree, because the GP of the sun, as Brian said, could be 3,000 miles away, and all you could see with your eyeballs is 3 miles. So the guy that came earlier is thinking, oh yeah, the sextant goes to that horizon as far as I can see, and that's where Earth curve starts, and that's how it works. No. This guy said it plainly here. That radius has to be parallel to the other circle's radius. It all has to be on a flat surface, and the radius is based on a 90 degree, which means you got to have a zero line and a zenith line, the vertical and the horizontal. That's why they use the horizon. In the open ocean, they don't have landmarks. They don't have lighthouses or mountains. They could look up at a chart and know what the distance is. They have to use the stars in the sky, but they need something like, where is that star exactly over on this Earth? So I could know its GP and draw a line from that to me, whatever the distance. And I need a right angle for that. They're not getting it.
No, I've also had that the only reason that you're doing an an horizon dip correction is because we're on a globe, and you wouldn't need that on a flat Earth. Like, no, you do that horizon dip correction to make sure you're getting an angle, you're getting the most specific angle, you know.
Well, let's go into that, Brian, because the dip correction for sextant is getting your eyeballs that were on top of the boat, say 9 feet above the water, to the water line. So it can be zero in your final calculations when you look at the Nautical Almanac. So it's for precision of the zero line.
Yeah, you could just get lower. You don't have to make that correction, right? You could get right on the ground and use the sextant.
That's the bit that tricked me in previous stuff where the way it's mislabeled. So it's the horizon correction, and when I was considering it from a ball position, I tend to just explain it from the flat perspective. It's about bringing yourself down to that baseline. That's what it's there for. But the way I'd considered it before was, I think the way ballers would probably consider it is that they're taking that horizon to be physical. Now, because your horizon should be level, it is level. That's the purpose of it. But on a ball, it won't be level. You're making an adjustment for R, basically, of where the physical edge would be away from the horizontal. That's why I used to think it was correcting for, because the way it's labelled, the horizon dip correction, yeah? But it's not doing that. It's just correcting to the base, because, as I've said before, to be able to do... I mean, that in itself would be a great disproof, because if you were going to be using the surface of a ball, you would need to know the point of intersection, and the height above the water would be defined by 1.22, yeah? So if you were going to then draw a line off of your ball, they're the calculations you would need, and that's why I did think it was in there, but it's not. I mean, it's naughtily mislabeled to imply you're correcting for the horizon being the leading edge of a sphere, dip correction curvature, but it's not. It's actually your baseline correction after you've ascertained level at whatever height you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it did. Well, it's much like altitude and azimuth. Azimuth is like a compass bearing starting from the north, going in a clockwise motion, north being 0. And it gives you, obviously, the direction of the star to locate. And then you got altitude. How high is the star above you once you get the degrees in azimuth? So they never show azimuth curved. You never see a compass rose curved. It's two-dimensional, it's flat, and it's north, east, south, and west, up to 360 degrees. So it's just like the azimuth. It's a plane.
It's all about making that flat-based triangle as accurate as possible, because if you're 9 foot off the water, actually the measurements you're taking are 9 feet out, aren't they? Because the triangle you're drawing is using the surface of the sea as its flat baseline. So you're just correcting to get to that. That's all you're doing, and that's why it's important you know how high you are on your boat.
Exactly, and they're taught that you take that measurement while you're at the dock when the water is still with a tape measure at all the different places you're going to use your sextant, while at sea when there might be waves in motion, so that you don't have to guess. So if you're taking from the bow, you know exactly from that location what it was to level sea surface. If you're taking it by the mast, then you know what that is, and then you go do the math, and it's just to correct for your height above the water, nothing more, because you need 0.
Hold on, your speakers are feeding back, I think, or Adam's are.
It'll be me. I've left the mic. Sorry.
Well, what the horizon dip correction proves, it proves, number one, that the horizon is not a rising to your eye level and only appearing to, but it also proves why it appears to. It's because it proves that if you're looking at an horizon out over the water, it proves that the water, with the exception of undulations, is a flat plane for any distance of water. So the horizon rises to eye level. The horizon appears to rise to eye level only because when you go higher, you have a greater visual angle, which allows you to see further. But no matter how far you see, that horizon will always appear, even from an airplane, it'll appear to rise to your eye level, but only because it's flat. It's not going down. And the sextant proves, number one, that the horizon is not actually rising to eye level. Number two, that the Earth has to be flat. So,
not according to this guy. According to this guy, the reason why you have a horizon is because you're on a sphere.
Yeah, but he came up with Ranty. I mean, Ranty was the person that disproved that their geometric horizon was only, they showed that their supposed geometric horizon was only inferior mirage back in 2016. You know, Ranty's the person who killed your geometric horizon back in 2016. Yet come up with another one after that. Because they were all claiming that it was inferior mirage until Ranty showed them that it couldn't be.
As you said, Brian, the only radius they got, they're denying, and it's from the center of the circle of equal altitude to where they are the observer with the sextant. That's the only radius they got, and they want to deny that because they don't have the other one.
Well, yeah, I've gotten a lot of people in comments trying to tell me how it does work on a sphere. It's very simple response is that, well, you're stating that a radius is a curved line then. You know, or a circle is not two-dimensional. Because that's it. They have to claim that a circle is not two-dimensional and a radius and a diameter are not straight lines. Because to say it works on a globe means that's what you're saying.
Also, they use the right angle box to show 90, and how would they do that on a curved surface? So that's coming from them. They can't have that and say it's on the curved surface.
Exactly. I think I'm debating Wolfie 60-20. He looked for a debate off me, believe it or not, on MacTunes. And it's due to this. I think it's down to these videos, because it's only since I brought out the past two sextant videos now that he never looked for one before off me.
Yeah, I think they're gearing up. They haven't done the work on the sextant. So they're all looking at the same videos I looked at. They're reading all the same articles I read, and I can't wait when they come on Nathan's show.
Yeah, because they are. I've been told about the second mirror in the sextant, and how come the sextant has a curve on it? One person said to me, you know, the way that it's curved when when you're moving it, taking angles. Like, you know, I don't know. They're not coming up with anything. I don't know what they have nowhere to go with this.
Oh, that's easy because the Earth is curved. That's why the sextant's curved. Come on.
I'm not sure what they're going to bring to the table other than complex mathematics that aren't used on the water.
That's what they've brought so far. They've just said, look, if you transpose this onto a globe, it's like, that isn't how it's done. So straight off the bat, they start superimposing a way of doing it that's capable of being done on a sphere, and how you would do it on a sphere. It's like, it isn't done that way. So all of this is for nothing, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, the description of a sextant is an angle measuring device between two objects. Try to get around that. What's an angle? They're going to have to deny an angle now.
Adam, you did crack me up with the scuba diving in the air. I did hear that.
Well, that was the level of his analogies. So to talk about air, let's talk about being in water. I mean, seriously. Phase change. Could we not stay in the same state if we're going to make an analogy, you know what I mean, that would be then applicable? But,
yeah, they always have to give a false analogy, don't they, Adam?
Well, I thought that was the perfect precursors to what Nathan's been talking about with that guy who wants to get a debate with cats. This is what exactly happens with cats, and this is what this guy showed. Correct. And it's just, they won't concede, they ad hom, they beg the question, and it just go 80 sometimes with cats. He goes, well, I'm only on 22. Oh, what, we're going to sit here and wait for the rest?
That's exactly what I thought, Ten. This is a perfect example. Couldn't have been more timed perfectly.
You know, he even threw in a, well, I know it's true because smarter people than I am have disproved it. How? Oh, I don't know how. That was his, I know I'm right because I'm ignorant statement.
Instead of maybe thinking, hey, maybe these people that I'm debating right now are smarter people than I am. Maybe they have a point here. Nope, won't even think about it. We're dumb flat earthers.
Well, I think his whole, I think he was just kind of coming in just to cause a bit of a ruckus. He was too calm for someone who was being shouted at that much. Someone who was shouted at and really believes they're on a globe, and really, you know, they're not going to behave like that. No one is that calm. You will, no matter how calm you are, you will retort. Do you know what I mean? He was too calm. He was totally calm through the whole lot, which meant that he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was there.
Right. I tried my best to hint at that. Is it intonation or implication, by way of overt sarcasm in some instances? But yes, exactly. You know, he's tooled up, ready with all the arguments at his disposal, having read through a side issue with something from last week about an external debate with a fundy. He knows the ins and outs of that. He knows the ins and outs of the refraction as a rebuttal argument, and knows to talk straight through me when I talk about the paradox. So, yeah, you and I know it, Brian, and I hope my not so subtle, is it an intonation? Implication, implying that that's the case by way of hinting at it whilst debating with him. I hope that came through.
It did, yeah, it came through clear to us anyway.
That's their another one of their, probably not directly, but with us. They cry appeal to format here, but I think that's what they are appealing to outside of us. That the reason we can't prove it's a ball is because Nathan's rude and he's mean and we're creepy. You know
that's
what I mean?
Their whole shtick. That is correct, Adam. The game is make out that I'm totally unreasonable because when somebody wants to talk straight through a summary or a rebuttal, that's unfair, right? Therefore, it would be much fairer if I was somewhere where the host is on the side of my opponent and will shut me down if I've got a winning argument. Because as soon as it gets repeated a few times, that's me unreasonable and not moving on when I haven't got a concession. That's what they need. In other words, to put it more succinctly, they need a biased platform so that they can win. Now, given that they're in the majority, who can blame them, right? They've only got 7 billion people behind them, so they need every advantage they can get, don't they?
There was a girl there recently, in the past few days, your name came up in one of the comments on one of the videos, and this girl said, yeah, she called you Oakley, not Oakley, not Nathan Oakley, but Nathan Oakley. She said, yeah, like the time he left his side chat open, blah, blah, blah. She was referring to, without even saying it, she didn't mention the lighthouse, but she was referring to the lighthouse. And I said to her, well, that is completely incorrect. You don't have your facts straight at all. I told her, if you want to get your facts straight, join the show, ask Nathan, and Nathan will calmly tell you exactly what it was. And he won't hold anything back. And she couldn't give me any response from her that I saw.
They're still talking about that lighthouse.
Yeah, but the point I make, hang on. The point I'm making, Neil, is that she just got, and I said it to her in the comment, that she got her information off someone else who had incorrect information, and they probably got it off someone else who had incorrect information. And it all started with their side misrepresenting the situation and sending out on purpose misinformation. So you have a load of people out there who think that Nathan left the side chat open when it wasn't Nathan at all. And they have, and the only parts they've seen and the only details they know about the whole lighthouse thing is that Nathan said, "Don't mention the lighthouse." They don't know any context or anything, how the whole thing happened or anything else. And I got no reply from her. And she was so confident, as I got no reply. I said, "You just go in there, join the Discord, ask Nathan. Nathan will calmly tell you exactly what it was." And she won't join. Go on.
Bro, that's the piss take, isn't it? Hey, that they're sitting there, right, crying that apparently Nathan's got this proof of ball earth that they don't even know, and he's hidden it. Was what he was. I mean, that's the intonation there. Not that they knew what it was.
Well, careful how you phrase things. Oh, that's slightly true if you phrase it in that way. I was telling Anthony not to release a single pixel flashing from Mackled Lighthouse when myself, Spurs, Anthony, his girlfriend at the time, and my wife were all looking at this lighthouse flashing away, and what we saw with our own eyes, which are very good at adjusting to low light, was very different to what the camera caught. Now, yeah, in that bit of photography, his missus, who had the camera set up on a tripod, spun around, showed what was around her, and you could see us, you could see the car park, you could see various other things that we were obviously standing right next to, and then she spins around, and you can hear us saying, I can't remember the exact pattern, but 1, 2, 3, 4... Yeah, that's the flash pattern of the lighthouse. That's definitely the lighthouse. It's in the right direction. It's flashing at the right rate. We can see the lighthouse. Now, I'm saying to Anthony, it's crap. Number one, we were at that particular time arguing about the Fresnel effect, or Fresnel effect, depending on how you want to pronounce it. But that was what we were discussing in the sidelines, off the record, amongst ourselves, if you will. And with that in mind, I hadn't fully understood the effect. And my argument was that the light that was being projected out would be projected to the horizon. You need R for that, by the way. This is all in a begging the question. I won't go into it. But anyway, their assumption would be that what you're seeing is like the Batman logo projected out at the horizon at the distance they quote on Wiki for Mackle Lighthouse when you're looking at the light only. In other words, you've got no other reference point in the imagery. We can see the ocean because it's twilight. We can see the island because it's twilight. You can't see it in the camera. It's just one pixel flashing. That's it. I said, don't talk about that. It'll just generate more arguments than it's worth. They'll just say that the lighthouse is projecting out. And my shorthand version of that to Anthony in a Skype message, or whatever it was we were communicating with, was don't mention the lighthouse, which is to say don't mention the lighthouse we've been just discussing for the 2 days because we've just been on holiday together. So he knew exactly what I meant, but I'm not going to write that in longhand in a short message during a debate in Skype. That's not what I was doing. I was saying, don't mention that, don't bring it up. But that's been blown out of all context. And
you have to say that because he was on the phone to me shortly afterwards saying what about, because there was no proof in it for either way. And I think back then we weren't sure about the Fresnel lens, whether and this is why I rang up the lighthouse technician of Mackle Lighthouse to ask whether or not we were seeing the point of intersection of the Fresnel lens or whether or not we were seeing the lighthouse. And he pointed out it's the lighthouse. The point of intersection is not seen. It's just a way of lengthening the beam by making it cross
which
over
makes total sense, right? It's stopping you in the fucking rocks.
So that was all the shenanigans. And actually, once we'd gone in, dug out and found the truth, we could use it. But like I said, the image was so crap, you couldn't.
Yeah. So further to that, well,
but
just one more thing. Just one more thing. So the bit they latch onto is me saying globe proof or perfect globe proof.
Yes.
That's the bit they latch onto. So my argument at the time, prior to Adam contacting the lighthouse, so while this was being discussed, actively being discussed, I said they'll claim it's projected out to the horizon, like the Batman logo, if you want to picture it, and that will be claimed as a perfect globe proof. Contextually, longhand. That's how I'd argued with Anthony at that location. So while the photograph had just been taken, we go back in, we're all looking at the imagery, and I go, they'll just claim it as a perfect globe proof because we can't use it for anything. It's garbage. What are we going to use this for? So we can see the lighthouse. So what? We can see it flashing. They could deny it all sorts because it's just 1 pixel. I don't think it's worth it. And they'll just claim it as a perfect globe proof anyway, based on my understanding of how the light is projected out. I was wrong in that respect. Adam confirmed it. But at the time, I was arguing, as we often do, the globe side position. So in other words, while we're discussing it, I'm doing what Arwin normally does, because Arwin wasn't there. So somebody, to make the discussion progress, has got to play the side of the glober and try and put the argument across from a globe perspective. And on that occasion, it was me. So I'm playing what is known as devil's advocate. I'm playing the part of my opponent so that the progression of the argument can take place there and then, including any potential objections that might be raised. Now, whether or not I'm good at raising globe objections, I would hope, because I'd like to think I understand their arguments reasonably well, or can postulate a globe argument in rebuttal to Anthony's presentation of this evidence. Now, with all that context in mind, I can write to Anthony, just another perfect globe proof. In other words, preempting what would be said if he were to present it. But why am I going to give him that context when I'm telling him over Skype and he just happens to have left his screen share on And then Cat Earth goes, ha ha ha, this is brilliant. You're like, yeah, okay, if you want to take it that way and suddenly put me in the position of your messiah of globe proof, fine. But you need to actually be able to parrot off what it actually is in context of globe proof. So if the evidence we're talking about is a light flashing at a significant distance that would be behind the geometric horizon, as per Anthony's argument. So Anthony's putting it to me that we should present this because it's beyond the geometric physical limitations of a sphere radius 3959 and shouldn't be seen. Well, that shouldn't be seen bit is where Anthony and I, although we didn't know it at the time, were just begging the question with them. How much should or shouldn't that light be seen is a question that can only be answered within that fallacy. We didn't know it at the time, but no matter which outcome we came to, arguing within the calculator of how much it should or shouldn't be behind Earth curve, is us losing every time we postulate the argument. So I don't take it as a big loser that suddenly someone's taken me playing devil's advocate on a weekend filming bloody lighthouses as suddenly me holding the key to globe proof. It's like a delusion if you think that's the case, but feel free.
Also,
so you got the perfect globe proof and nobody else does.
Well,
brilliant.
I know. To me, it shows that flat earthers are prudent and diligent. Before they go running out there making claims about stuff, they check out its validity. You know, what we don't do, it would have been the opposite of like the Blackpool Swan, wouldn't it? Like the ballers come running out with their supposed ball proof and, oh, no, there is a fantastic flat earth proof. And to us, it was for me, you go and before you make a claim, you've got to be able to back that claim up. Now, what you couldn't do is back that claim up if you didn't know how the lighthouse worked, and we didn't. So we asked an expert, the bloke that put the new LEDs in the month before, yeah, and we got our answer there. But like I said, it wasn't then used because the only image we had was it was destroyable by them.
I think that was that was a lucky break. That the fact that he'd just put LEDs in, quite literally, was probably why he took the call. Because he's like, I've made a major significant change from filament to LED, and suddenly I'm being asked a question about the focal length of my lighthouse. So therefore he's all keen to answer it, and he did.
Yeah.
The reason... Sorry.
No, I was just saying, it was really helpful and explaining, and that's what, I mean, I asked him about the president, that's why I know about him, because he took the time to explain what it was, why we'd see it, how it worked, but know what we were seeing was the point of the light source.
Right, go on, Brian.
Yeah, no, the only reason I even brought it up was because it's like the situation at the moment where they're all claiming that you ran away from cats. They're going to take something that isn't the truth, and they'll tell someone who doesn't know the truth, who didn't even read the emails, will tell someone else that you ran away, and they'll tell someone else you ran away, and none of them. This comes back to even what Adam was just saying about the lighthouse. You weren't going to put out something if it was going to be incorrect. You're going to get your facts straight. They never get their facts straight, and that's why this girl had her facts incorrect, and she was making a comment. And when I said to her, all you have to do is join the show. Nathan will ask Nathan about it. He'll calmly speak to you about it. He'll tell you exactly what it was. There was no big mystery, nothing hidden. And you'll get all the facts and specifics then, the context of it. And then it won't be a mystery, like, basically. And she never replied back that I know of.
It's so sad that they're holding on to that nonsense after all this time. Meanwhile, no physicality to their geometric horizon at all. Debunked it, and they're still holding on to some crap from 6 years ago. That means nothing.
Exactly.
Well,
silly.
It shows how much the need to character assassinate is within their rhetoric. Even people who are just the average anti-flat earther or average glober.
But that's the important part. That's what they have to do, right? Especially to the new people who don't even understand the arguments. This girl probably doesn't even understand what she was talking about, let alone had the context with it. All she knows is, ooh, Nathan might have hid something. So now she's going to run with that. That's what you do with the new people. You tell them that, and then therefore after that, they don't have to work out what exactly the argument was because they just know, oh, it was a lie or it was something being hidden.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, you have no
look at
context.
that first thing.
Hold on, Neil.
She calls
hold
him
on.
Nathan Oakley.
Just 1 second. I just want to go to Arwen if he's around. If not, I'll just say it anyway. Which is,
What?
yesterday we were
Yeah?
talking about people bullshitting. Arwen, this is bullshitting.
Yes.
So she's not lying, she's bullshitting, right? She's gone and scraped up a little bit of information, surface level, without context, and then is more than happy to parade around with it. Well, that's without the discipline that we've been afforded, not because we wanted it, because we were forced to be vigilant. Now, I'm not saying I'm displeased with that. Yesterday I was praising it. I'm saying, well, you know, if you're called out on your bullshit because you just behave like that as a flat earther, just scrape up some cursory information that you find and then call somebody out on it, you're not going to last long. You're going to get absolutely hammered, which means that we have to remain vigilant, which is what Adam's saying. But Chocolate's saying, you know, when those people come along and they just take a cursory bit of information away, yeah, that's how people generally behave. People are bullshitters. That's a bullshitter. And further to that, that's where I was going to go, by the way, Chocolate. You need to know the argument that actually goes alongside it. Okay, so I've claimed that the lighthouse is a globe proof. Go on then. Explain it to me. Because obviously I understand it, don't I? Well, yeah, because actually, by coincidence, I was actually fighting your globe position as a devil's advocate whilst out at the Isle of Man with Anthony looking at it. Not literally, we were inside when we were discussing this, but you know what I'm saying. You don't know any of that context. You don't know that I was sat there fighting for the globe to try and give context to Anthony's... He wanted to publish it, right? And I wanted to stop him. That's the bottom line. So I played globe and tried to defeat his arguments with globe arguments. That's the bottom line, right? So, okay, how did I actually position it then? What was my argument? How did I claim it was a globe proof, even by devil's advocate? Let's see how well you do, because I can do it. Yeah, I can fight for that to be a globe proof. No problem. But you'll find that with any good debater. They know their opponent's argument better than their opponent. Yeah, I know the globe arguments better than you do. Whoever you are.
Right. You can't just rely on, well, the knowledge is known. I know somebody who knows it. If you want to actually uphold an argument in a debate against somebody that's going to go after you in some way, you better know the entire field and you better know what to expect when bringing up that argument. You have to master it.
Yeah, that's why Baldwin, as much as we get annoyed with him, and the reason we're getting annoyed with him is because he's good at what he does. And I've seen now in other places where he's not in the same context as he is here, and it's like a switch has been flicked. You know, he's suddenly fighting against everything you'll hear him saying here. Well, why? Well, because that's the actual position he takes. You know what I mean? So of course he can do a good job of fighting for the globe. Better than most globe heads. Arwen can frustrate us more than most people. The fact that we know he's playing devil's advocate is the only reason we don't get annoyed with him.
I see us as like this flat earth army, not literal army, but psychological warfare army. Well, an army is only as good as how well it is trained. What is better training than actually having a soldier of the opponents with opponent strategy among you to fool around with and to spar with, right? That is the real training, because that's going to help you psychologically in the field when you're actually going to go face to face with them. So that's how I do this. I basically say, like, yeah, I was there. I fought in their army once. And now I'm going to show you how I did it, so you can learn to defend against it.
But the tricks Arwen uses are also the same tricks that the Ballers use that we've just discussed 20 minutes ago. So I can't remember who primarily was part of this conversation and brought it up, but about the character assassination that needs to take place if you can't defend against the argument. The tactics that need to be employed rather than the winning arguments if you can't overcome your opponent's argument. Discredit the person. It's like political tactics.
That's the poisoning the well.
It's really just weakness. It's weakness to do that.
Get my thing in? Whatever you say, Nathan Oakley. You mean like that? How she started out?
Whoever from Discord said poisoning the well fallacy, that's what that is, Neil. He summarised it, whoever that was that said that.
That was me, Nathan. That's what I was saying. That whole thing we've just gone through with regards to the Isle of Man and the lighthouse is to poison the well, to make out you're hiding things, you're a liar, you're cheating. The first thing that woman's come across you isn't all the detail that we could outline with regards to the ball. Yeah, it's that, oh, you lied and you've hidden something. So the first thing is to poison the well against you straight away.
Yeah, and that's the objective. So Katz, by publishing it, is fighting against his own cognitive dissonance. And if he can poison other people who might potentially come across my path and hear the arguments he's attempted to obfuscate and talk through, and they come with the idea or impression or notion that actually I'm a globe believer just deceiving you, then that's very advantageous to set up a bias before anyone gets here. Well, that'll make him feel better for about 5 seconds.
Correct.
Well, if you go back
and it
to the
discourages
times of...
new people.
Sorry.
It discourages new people from joining if they think that you're only driven by the financial incentive. I also said the poisoning the well because it's so effectively used in the mainstream to discredit even notions like this whole Snopes concept of fact checkers. They can just say, nah, it's not true. And everyone sees that as the first post and they move on with their lives. So it's the same thing with if they can discredit Nathan Oakley, I can move on with my life. I don't need to listen to the point that he's making.
Well, isn't that just ignorance enabling, right? Because it does require somebody to actually be superficial and sloppy about it to accept that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's manufactured. Yes.
Yeah.
No, but it's
Owen's on to something. Let Owen speak. Go ahead, Owen.
Well, it's not forcing it on anybody. Anybody can listen to it and then think about it if they have that capacity. But what they're actually doing is making it easy for the lazy people that don't really want to look into it and don't want to worry about it. So it's just like, no, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to worry about this. Just move on with whatever you wanted to do. So they're
Precisely.
enablers.
Exactly, Arwin. So therefore, who are we appealing to? This is why I say to Neil, well, why do you care when you're trying to appeal to this person to change their opinion? Well, Arwin's just summed it up, right? They've taken the easy path. It's designed for the lazy man to form preconceptions about certain things or certain people in this instance. Well, if they're doing that, they're not focused on the argument. They're not coming with no preconceived notions about who people are. They're coming with bias. Well, if you're lazy, that makes life easier. Well, who is it being made easier for? Because on the most part, we're not seen as individuals. We're seen as the masses by the people keeping us under control. So they just keep you in line with everybody else. Well, that's convenient for the people who want to keep you under control. Not very convenient if you're a forward thinker or you have any inclination to find out about what's what. They don't want those people, though. They definitely don't want it. They want you dumb. So follow the easy route that we've laid out for you already. And if you've come across the hard path and chosen that you prefer to be on the easy path, even though technically speaking you've already rolled down the valley and are just staring back up at that easy path, you think that if you can avoid other people falling down the valley, yeah, by somehow, I don't know, setting off smoke signals from the bottom of the valley, metaphorically speaking, then somehow that'll help you climb back up to normalcy and being a globe believer in the truest sense of the word without actually caring about it anymore. Yeah, well, if you haven't got an argument to get your cognition around that, character assassination of the person that you perceive to be poisoning everyone else into the pain that you're feeling needs to be done by way of projection. So typically they'll project out their own misdeeds onto you.
They were doing it back in the time of Samuel Rowbotham, where they had a surveyor supposedly disprove what he showed at the canal. And the surveyor lied. The surveyor was only pointing out what I've pointed out as optical drop. The surveyor knew exactly what he was looking at, but the surveyor was willing to lie, and because he was a surveyor, it assassinated the character of Samuel Rowbotham. Now, I don't know Samuel Rowbotham, but I do know that today I've heard over the past 6 years umpteen times that Samuel Rowbotham was a con man, right? But Samuel Rowbotham disproved exactly what this guy, this other surveyor had said. But Rowbotham wasn't a surveyor. So what Samuel Rowbotham did to disprove him, which was prove optical drop, right? That's not, no one ever knows about that. They only know about Samuel Rowbotham supposedly not accounting for refraction, and this surveyor supposedly knowing about refraction and proving him wrong, thus proving the globe supposedly. But no one ever hears about Rowbotham completely annihilating the surveyor's claims using optical drop and showing exactly what the surveyor was pointing at, a supposed Earth curve. Nobody knows about that part. They only hear about the other part, about how an expert came along and disproved this Egypt who thought the earth was flat.
Did you say they said he was a con man?
Yeah, that's all you got from the border.
Oh, so
Let's
they
say
were
the road bottom is
projecting.
about-
But who was
Yeah.
the real con man? So they were
The
projecting
surveyor.
even back then.
Yeah, the surveyor. The surveyor was a total con man. There was another man who was on the road bottom side who ended up going to jail because he threatened the surveyor. He was having his own thing with the surveyor. He was on the same side as a flat earther too, and he knew the surveyor was an absolute total and utter liar.
Right, and it all got spun around. So, who behaves in this way? What type of person?
And anti-flat earthers.
A psychopath? No, I'm talking about the top end of society. I'm not
Oh,
talking
yeah,
about the dregs and the
psychos.
trenches. Psychopaths, that's how they behave.
Yeah.
Well, this is why the circle of equal
Psychopath or
altitude.
sociopath?
This is why the circle of equal altitude destroys everything that that surveyor was trying to say. Because it can't have drop and have the circle of equal altitude.
Sexton, baby, Sexton.
Exactly.
Nathan,
yes, I'm glad
you
everyone's
explain Nathan, could you explain exactly why psychopaths and not sociopaths in this
Oh
example?
my god! Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
We have a couple. All right, whatever. I got something. Don't quit before I.
No,
Why are you even bringing it
I'm
up,
with
Eli?
Eli. No, this is such good chat about nature of the earth that I don't want to move on to psychopathy. So no, go ahead, Eli.
Okay, so guess what I found
Yes.
out when I was tricked into watching Globebusters by way of a favorite channel of mine, Taboo Conspiracy. Now they do all right work with what I seen yesterday. I don't know. Listen, whatever. Anyway, so they had this pilot on. Right? And the pilot is basically he's a fighter, right? And so basically he's saying, well, when they use radar, right, it's the sky is broken up into quadrants. And the one thing that stuck out to me was when he said, how comes when I'm looking along the surface and let's say I move whatever I'm looking at is like 40 miles is the distance, the altitude doesn't change. Like the further out he goes,
yeah, I
what he's
remember hearing that.
observing it's the same altitude from the surface that isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, there's no
just
drop.
applies perpendicularness.
Okay,
That's
Eli,
good.
hold on.
Wow.
Eli's trying to make his point. So yeah, so you're saying that the pilot's pointing out there's no drop.
Right, correct.
Yeah, but I
Feels
just seen that
brilliant.
in my mind. That's mind blowing.
But the
Yeah,
ballers.
well, welcome to the party, pal. It's been one of my proofs for about 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Come on, at the end of the
the ballers
show, are you going to insult me?
The ballers just think that you don't notice the drop, right? It just
You ever go on my
just
website?
moves right in.
Look,
Like
take a
there
look
is
at the
this
proofs?
drop, you just don't notice it.
Do you ever go on the website and look at the proofs? It's like staring you right in the face.
I haven't
Jesus.
been on the website.
Nothing wrong with that.
As long as
Good.
they can calculate it, the ballers believe there will be drop.
Sometimes somebody else says it in a
I
way
hear
where
what
you
you're
see it
saying.
better,
Huey, I
QE.
hear what you're saying. Huey, you're too low.
Wow, that's amazing.
John
Did
is
he
right.
say? Did a pilot say the altitude didn't change? Oh my God, really?
John is right. He's right. And he has every right to. The information is readily available, and he's upset at how
All I'm
slow
saying
to
is
the
the way
take we
you
are.
explained it.
I've got an issue
the
here.
way you
Hold
explained it,
on,
Eli,
Eli.
I got it.
Hello,
to
can I
the
get
ball.
control just for a second? I don't understand what the issue is, QE. So because you had it first, what's the issue?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, I hear people in the background saying, "Oh man, that's amazing." Well, yeah, it's been discussed like 4 years ago. Shouldn't be shocking.
is that Neil's a visual learner, right? So
Exactly,
he
chocolate.
had to put that. He had to put that in his
Yes.
head. The way Eli just described it,
Thank
he
you.
visioned it, and that it makes sense to him. Maybe
Now
your
I'll
presentations
go-
don't really do that for him. You know?
No. That's wrong. They
Elijah,
do.
we can
Now
hear
I'll
you
go back.
eating.
Can I
Yeah,
finish?
Elijah, can you
Now
mute?
My bad.
Now I'll go back and go to that website and I'll see it, and it'll open me up a little more. I'm not as gifted as you guys, but I did see it when Eli just said it like that. I've seen it in my mind.
I see. So really, all credit to Globebusters.
What?
But the question I have though is the
I
pilot.
missed that. You got that from Globebusters? Oh shit!
Globebusters.
Throw it out the window now.
No, it was a pilot talking on Globebusters, right? But Eli, my question is, was the pilot like a Glober trying to understand this, or was he a flatty just saying when I fly, obviously there's no drop? Like, what was the case in his context?
Are you?
No,
Are you guys trying to poison the well here?
He's a flatty.
Oh, okay.
Openly, or just seemed like one?
No. He just retired, so he's like, yeah. So basically, it's part of the interview. Sorry about the noise. Is basically him saying, well, I couldn't really talk about it because all of the doxing going on and everything. But he's like, well, I'm retired. My wife's retiring very soon, so I'm blowing the whistle.
Can I get
Flat Earth
Hold
Mansion.
on. What's the title of the Globebusters video, please?
Okay. Oh, say that again. Taboo Conspiracy 3. You go to his channel, and crap. Give me a second. Sorry.
I got you. So it's trimmed out from Globebusters, and the trimmed out version is on Taboo Conspiracy 3. We just need the title.
Yes.
Perfect. If I can just get the title, that'd be brilliant. And then people listening can actually look for it and find it, and obviously then give them the credit they deserve.
Well, wonder what's next.
F-16 pilot.
The lack of Coriolis effect?
No, I got Coriolis, buddy.
Coriolis force impact. Woo.
That's a low blow.
F-16 pilot. The guys. What's it say? F-16 pilot Cujo interview.
F-16 pilot Cujo interview.
Cujo?
That's his alias.
Is it a Saint Bernard? Now we got the information from a dog.
No, because
shit.
I guess he's saying that they're like they're referred like it's the military terminology, or like he's a dog or something like that. I don't know.
It's his call sign or something, Cujo?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm Maverick.
Thank you very much. Perfect. Well, big shout out to Taboo Conspiracy and the guys over at Globebusters. Check it out. Hopefully you'll look it up and have a watch.
Is Taboo Conspiracy the one that had that interview with the astrophysicist? Is that the same one? But it didn't tell him he was a flat earther? Oh, okay.
Taboo Conspiracy was my route to BLMSB 69. So Ben published that video originally.
Which was the route to the Black Swan.
Correct. So I didn't know BLMSB 69 was, but down to Ben's vigilance looking through YouTube and republishing it and promoting BLMSB 69, that's how I got to hear about it. And then QE took that image, and I seem to remember that was the same case for QE because he credited Ben and BLMSB 69 in the first Black Swan episode from memory. God, this is going back a while.
Yep.
Is that correct?
I still do.
Yep.
Can we talk about drop more now that I understand it?
Just end with this credit. No Ben, no Black Swan. Just let's make that clear.
Yep.
Nah, he started it. But the Black Swan was always going to be discovered one day.
You can't,
yeah, that's true.
That's kind of true. But by the same token, what we have had come to fruition is as follows. BLMSB having the actual boots on the ground, getting the imagery, and then sticking it up on his channel so that Ben could see it and expose it to Quantum Eraser to develop Modus Tollens to then destroy the globe forever 1st Jan 2020.
I've put that video in Master B that you were talking about. No.
Which led to the Globers asking us, why would we expect to see this thing that they've been telling us that we've been
We
seeing
never
for
claimed the
years?
geometric horizon.
What a funny freaking route. Wow.
I
Chewie,
loved
you
how
missed a guy
Rumpus, like,
today,
really
Chewie.
quickly just disclaimed the geometric horizon after the Black Swan came on the scene. That was amazing.
Yeah,
like he knew where he would have to go eventually, very quickly.
BLMSB.
Neil, I didn't miss
actually,
it. I'm right in the middle of it. I'll get back to it after we're done here. So.
Okay.
BLMSB has another video that is absolutely excellent, where he uses a solar filter, and he shows the sun not doing what all the ballers keep claiming it does.
I
with a
seen that.
solar filter. Yeah, it's a very good video.
He's a very good YouTuber.
Which is what, not changing its not actual size?
He's got everything I haven't got, which is the ability to get his boots on the ground and capture the imagery, which is awesome, because that is typically where these arguments begin, with the guy with the boots on the ground with a camera in his hand taking the pictures.
Nah, you talking about taboo conspiracy still, Ben? As you call him?
Oh, Bo. No, I'm talking about the photographer.
Oh.
Don't forget, we had our own photographers here. You know. There's
well, we don't have them anymore. They're Globers now.
Owen's right. Let's have a moment of silence for all of the other photographers.
Right. Yeah, one of them is now rolled back into the globe, which is preposterous.
That's not true. No. You don't go back to the globe. You become an anti-flat earther, which is a smaller section of the population than even people who believe in Bigfoot. So
that's correct. I could kiss you, Eli's ace. That's correct.
That's a good point.
You don't roll down. You don't roll down the hill. You don't roll into the valley and get to climb back up again. You don't go from globe believing ignorance being bliss and just, I know I'm on a globe, everything's cushy, to finding out that you don't have or a geometric horizon, or there's no earth turn beneath, or all the other things that you find out when you come to this arena. You don't then go back up to the top of the valley on the nice easy road of ignorance. You can't go back. So they are anti-flat earthers from there on in. That's what you become. You've got a choice. Flat earther or anti-flat earther. There's no third choice.
Right. When you get out of that valley onto the hill of flat earth and you roll back down again, you're never going to end up back in the valley. You're going to roll right into the swamp.
So no hill to die on anymore?
Well, no, not for those who defect flat earth.
The point is that for some deluded reason, the people who oppose us and contradict their own narratives think they're globers. And they're not.
Yeah, because you can't get back in a globe.
John,
you know, it's not real.
John, I want to point out that I think the reason that I didn't say anything immediately because I haven't been on your website recently, but I've heard you talk about the proof from pilots. What this pilot was talking about though is the radar device. The reading itself, when he's taking the reading from 40 miles or whatever, and he sees, oh, well, the altitude is the same. That's slightly different than, not experiencing drop as you're flying over the ball.
Yeah,
he's saying
John.
that a device is basically showing that it's flat too.
I don't see how. What is he taking radar of?
Well, he said something about they break the sky up in quadrants, and
Okay.
it's too much for me. I don't really know, because I don't know about radar and how that works.
Another plane, as far as I know, QE. He's spotting another plane that's about 40 miles away. That's at the same altitude as he is.
Oh, I got you. Well, I'd have to watch the video. Okay, fair enough.
But it makes perfect sense, right?
Oh, it's your Sally and John example. That's what that is. Yeah, because the other plane that they're looking at, either above the horizon or at the horizon, whatever. If it's at the same altitude, then how the fuck could you both be on the ball where they're supposed to be dropped, but there is none? Looking at each other.
That's what I got.
Oh, right. By the way, something completely different, guys. I'm sending out Skype requests on my new Skype account because I can't get into my old one. So please, don't be surprised if you're going to see a contact from Arwin in Skype. That's it.
Okay. Kiwi, do you remember your old shows when you talked about the missile systems and we talked about radar and on the ocean surface in the big battleships and frigates and all the Navy has 200 plus miles? And then I had a boat that had a 24-mile radar. How does radar work?
Magic swirly light that goes ping, ping. It's magic.
Sorry, I was told. Are you asking me how radar works?
And now over to our radar correspondent, Quantum Eraser.
What? I'm right in the middle of breakfast. You want to know how radar works?
Yes, give me the blueprints and schematics now.
It shoots light out, and the light reflects off the object and then comes back at you. Good?
Don't believe
Thank
you.
So technical.
So thank you. So 40 miles is nothing when you got ship radar that can go 96 miles, 150 miles, 200 miles.
Taking the piss.
It just depends on where your target is. If your target is a surface target, right, you have to have line of sight for radio waves. Right? So is that where you're going? You have to have line of sight for that. It's not, bouncing off the ionosphere.
No, I'm going
yes,
line of sight.
White paper. And yes, chocolate, that's white paper stuff right there.
That's why I said the missile systems that you tied into it. No R.
Sea Sparrow missile block 1.
Yeah, so there's no R.
Pretty sure I saw that on Globebusters first.
Can somebody in Skype?
You're making him choke.
I stole that off Mark Sargent. Everyone knows that. I mean, duh.
That is true. That's Strange World number 27. Correct? I think it's 27. It'll be 30.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. I remember watching it when it first came out and going, oh, wow. And then hearing the backlash and the guy, the missile instructor was like questioned about his validity because he was in active service. So he wrote on a napkin, Mark Sargent, and then filmed him opening it with all the shit around him. It's like, there you go. This is definitely real. Yeah, I remember the whole thing unfolding. It's not going to... Those sorts of things stick in your mind.
Yeah, I remember.
I remember listening to like the whole list of subject matter experts that he had, even before I think this was before I even got here, and I was just like, holy shit! Look, I mean, listen to all the people like in the military, all these actual subject matter experts that are saying like this is nonsense, this ball thing, and they would know, right? I mean. If you're in the military, you're actually using these weapons, you would know if you're shooting over a ball or not, right? Well, I thought that was crazy. And I thought I was like, wait a minute. Go
ahead. They wouldn't call it nonsense, though. They just would call it incorrect, right?
Yeah, but it's funny how, like most of them, like, they're still in the military or whatever, and they're hiding their identity, or they're out of it, and they're coming out. It's like, at first, that because that was a while ago, so I was just like, holy shit, there are all these people that
that know this, and how is it not out there a lot further? Like, this was before I even knew there were like the globe retards and the anti-flat earthers that would start telling me to drink bleach because I don't think I live in a ball. It's like I didn't know how crazy it would get, but listening to all those subject matter experts, I was just like, wow, this is some shit.
Now, those were people
especially,
in the field.
Especially the one that stuck out was the vacuum, the guy that was an expert in vacuums, right? And
the
how he
anonymous
was
guy.
talking about
the anonymous guy.
He was talking about how the ISS and the O-rings and none of that would work. Like, I was listening to it like, what the hell? This is great.
I got to find out who that was. I was privy to who he was. I mean, I'm obviously not going
to
violate the guy's anonymity, but I was like, oh, right, okay, so that's why he wanted to keep himself anonymous. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, there was a stream that went through Mark Sargent. So Mark Sargent these days gets grief. It's the same as me with the Lighthouse. Half the time they haven't got the vaguest idea what Mark Sargent's actually done, and people just give him crap because they just see him as, I don't know, the adverts he's done or something like that, and they just take that in isolation and say that's Mark Sargent. And you're like, no. Mark is pinnacle. He's instrumental to a lot of our understanding here.
Mark Sargent is our Statue of Liberty.
One of the first things that I saw, one of the first people that got me into the subject. And the very first one I was thinking the other day was actually a Glober channel, UFO channel. Was the first thing that I really watched on Flat Earth, because I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Secure Team 10. It's a UFO channel. And the guy, Tyler, he every episode it's like UFOs and blah, blah, blah. So then one episode, he's just like, so I just want to address this subject because, it's been popping up and, it's a little crazy. And he addresses Flat Earth. And I'm like, And at this point, I had already seen like all the Flat Earth recommendations on YouTube, but I was just like, I don't know. I didn't watch any of it. I was just like, something about that sticks out to me, but I don't know, not yet. But then when this popped up, and I'm like, okay, I'll listen to it. And he addresses whatever arguments that he addressed. And I was like, but, you didn't say anything to address the actual arguments that the Flat Earthers had. And I didn't know the actual arguments, but what he's saying were their arguments, he didn't address them. He was just like, oh, but that's wrong, because, if you look it up but if they're lying, that's where it's going to be, where you look it up. So it was his video that got me into looking further. And then after that, I saw Mark Sargent. Like right after that, it seems like that Under the Dome thing just popped up. And I'm like, all right, let me watch this. And sooner or later, I ended up here. It's crazy.
But what I don't think our opponents currently realise, and it's the same for us going back, maybe not 5 years for some of us, but however many years it is for whoever, that we didn't realise that we were being corralled. We are in many ways, I don't want to say this in a way that makes everyone say, oh, right, so you think it's a psyop then? Well, no, I don't think it's a psyop. I just think it's the nature of our reality, and it's obvious and observable. But in terms of the structure that we are faced with and the opposition that we're faced with and all of those sorts of things, our route through YouTube, you could call it, that is definitely structured in a certain way, a preordained way.
A controlled release.
Yeah, controlled release is a fair way to put it. But by the same token, you've got to know where you are in that system to be comfortable with it and not let it drive you insane or fight against parts of it that don't necessarily benefit you or fight at all when it will be to your detriment. So, understanding all that, the people who oppose us, and I'm talking about anti-flat earthers now, have seen a rise from probably the point that Simon Dan came into the fray. From there was a heavy promotion of our opponents. Now, there was a false perception, from me included at the time, that they were promoting the Globers, right? That's what we called them, or Globe heads, or whatever we termed them. And somehow that was assisting the Globe. Well, actually, no. What they've now got is two subsets. Yeah? People who attack the standard rhetoric, that's us, obvious. And we were corralled into our little corner of the internet. But then thereafter, and Eli summarised this a minute ago, although he's just disappeared, you've got this second subset of people that's even smaller, that are anti-flat earthers, our opponents. The people that descend into zealotry and doublespeak. Like I say, they're not climbing back up the hill. They're not rejoining the masses. So suddenly we've got two subsets. What remains after, when this all comes to a head or comes to fruition, depending on which way you want to look at it, comes to a head if you're a glober and you haven't got a clue that this is even going on, all that really matters is what the general populace sees as real at the end. Now, we aren't privy to what your average Joe Normie knows about Flat Earth. We're not going to be able to divine what they actually know or understand of it. But we're reasonably comfortable in saying that most people out there have got a vague inclination about this subject at the moment. Going into the 2020s, a lot of people are aware of the subject, might bring it up out of the blue to you as a Flat Earther, not knowing that you are one. Yeah? Well, that means that you've suddenly got to be concerned about the actual consensus view. That's the globe believers, the normies, the people that don't know they've got a religious faith. Now, their opinion is not the opinion of the anti-flat earthers. Their arguments aren't the same as the anti-flat earthers. Their general way of being in life generally is not the same as anti-flat earthers. Normal people who think they're on a globe don't spend their time telling flat earthers that we don't really turn underneath. Why would you think we do? That's nonsensical to think that they did behave like that. But they're the people that are actually going to sway how things are. So while we're worried about why doesn't this guy get it, why is this guy giving me his anti-flat earth rhetoric and doublespeak, he doesn't really matter. That he or she doesn't really matter. That anti-flat earther, in the scheme of things, if you're fighting for the greater good, which I'm not really, doesn't really matter. All that matters is the, how does the order go? You know, vehemently denied, violently opposed, and then accepted as being understood all the time. Well, that last step, the accepted as just always having been understood, might be 10 years from now and won't come from the anti-flat earthers. They'll be left in their little sub-corner of the internet that they're denying being in. Yeah, they think they've made their way back to normie society and they haven't, right? But when eventually, if it does reach this point, I'm not saying it will, when it eventually reaches the point that your vast majority of normies, that's society at large, just goes, well, we all knew it was flat. Yeah? Which will potentially eventually happen. What happens to Simon Dan and Katz and all of those people? Well, they're just left in some subset of society, you know? Not Scientology, a subset of heliocentrism, but anti-flat earthism.
They will be the nerds all over again.
Yeah, what they fought against their whole life. Back in some nerdy subset of society. They'll always be betas and gammas, the lot of them, and they know it. Deep down, they all know it.
Yeah, like that comedian I sent the invitation to come on the show. He just used us as like dummies, like people that still believe in a flat earth. But he doesn't know.
Well, I know one thing. They'll never be in the corner of anywhere because they say straight is curved.
This guy in chat, I'd have to bring this up. I usually don't bring up chat skanks. Glass Bomb, you've got to be some type of numpty dipshit. Guess what this guy asked me? I brought up because we were talking about plane flight, right? And you know that the planes don't have to drop. Here's his question. A seasoned glober. Ready? Here we go. How can there be two different amount of drop between 1 hour and 2 hour flights? Why would it have to compensate differently over a constant curve? I'm shocked.
Why would it have to compensate? That doesn't even make sense as
How
a question.
can there be two different amount of drops between 1 hour and 2 hour flights? All right, so because the further you go, the more droppy. For fuck's sake.
Perfect. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.